Hello everyone, welcome back to Circuit Paul Ricard, and this is round one of our 2026 season of the Ferrari Challenge in Europe. And the cars making their way out on track for their second race of the weekend. 30 minutes plus one lap will be on the clock to enable our drivers to absolutely achieve the very best they can. And it will be our Shell and Shell Am drivers that will be taking to the track for that competition this afternoon. And this is where it happens. Paul Ricard then. Iconic track. Iconic because of those painted lines. Now our calendar for 2026 is, as you can see, here in Le Castellet, followed by Mugello, then Spielberg in Austria, then it is Le Mans in support of the 24-hour race, Portimao in Portugal, Budapest, and then Barcelona, which not only forms round 7, but also forms the Finale Mondiale event as well in Spain. Going to be awesome this season, so looking forward to it. Track temperature 19 degrees, air temperature 12 degrees, quite a bit of wind around, to be honest with you. And the weather, if I can be so bold as to suggest, is very un-South of France-like. It's much colder than we anticipated or expected or planned for in terms of packing when it came to clothing. I'm joking, of course. The Richard Mills safety car sits front of the grid of cars, some 25 of them, the mix of our Shell Am and Shell drivers. The Shell drivers, you can identify those because they have a yellow strip at the top of the windscreen, and the Shell Am drivers have a black strip at across the top of the windscreen. And that also applies to all the graphics that you will see on screen as well, because the numbers will be illuminated, either yellow for Shell or black for Shell Am. There you go, trying to make it as easy as possible to keep across everything that will happen inside this 30 minutes plus one lap race for Ferrari Challenge here in Europe. And as I say, we have some 25 cars, one of whom drives the 138 car, Lucas Asato, who has qualified on pole position for Shell Am and was on the top step of the podium in terms of result yesterday. So he'll be feeling pretty confident for Castellet Racing, having done P1 yesterday and P1 now in qualifying. Alongside me, my erstwhile colleague Nico Spalek is always here or thereabouts, and there we were just taking a little bit of camera art looking at a wet weather tyre, which I don't think is going to be necessary, is it, today?
Good afternoon. No, we do not expect that. There are certainly clouds overhead, and we had a few raindrops come out of them over the course of the day, but unlike yesterday morning, nothing like the downpour we experienced, and so Eric Chung and everybody else can plan firmly on participating in this race with the slick Pirelli P0 tyres.
We were looking then at Eric Chung. A warm welcome back to Eric Chung, whose driver coach is Daniele Diamato, a former Ferrari Challenge champion in his own right. A Ferrari Challenge World Champion is this driver, and that is the driver of the 186 car, who has qualified for this race. He's moved up into the Shell category for this season, and very much looking forward to seeing what Jan Sandman can do. I was about to say he's qualified out of position. I would expect to see him on the front row, Nico. He's on the third row of the grid. And Sven Schirmer is also perhaps out of position. He's going from P3 on the grid, which means a second row start. They were both bested by Tibor Valint and Fons Skeltermar, which was really, really good to see, in fairness. So anyway, we'll see what they can do in the race. It's race 2. Let's take a look at what happened in race 1. Ferrari Challenge about to get underway for the first race of the season. Great start from Jan Salmon, who'd put the car on pole position right through a very, very treacherous qualifying in the wet, dry weather conditions for the drivers for race 1, and Jan Salmon absolutely nailing the start. Early on, he was under a bit of pressure from Sven Schirmer, but once he'd got his nose in front, he was going to build as big a gap as he possibly could. We ride on board with Sven Schirmer, who was being chased as well as doing some chasing at the same time. Lots going on, and for Alwar Mayer, a lot of it was going sideways. He was able to recover from that sideways moment, and Fons Skeltermar was on a real charge here as he overtakes Sven Schirmer, and this was for great track position. and put von Skeltermaar into P2. Would he be able to try and chase down the race leader Jan Sandman? Whilst all this was going on, Lucas Azato, what a great job he's doing. He's P1 for the Shell Am drivers. For Jan Sandman, not a foot stepped wrong. Brilliant job done. Heading towards the checkered flag, it would be Jan Sandman to win race 1 of the 2026 season for Shell, and for Lucas Azato, he would win the Shell Am race. Brilliant driving from all of the drivers. Congratulations all round. Super stuff from Shell and Shell Am. It was a super race yesterday with a lot going on, that's for sure. You can see that many of the engineers are beginning to leave the track, along with the tyre trolleys which contain the wet weather tyres. Now, very often, even if there's no likelihood whatsoever of rain, you will find drivers and their teams, they always are prepared, and they have the tyre trolleys out there on track. You can see Cyril there just wishing good luck to her partner, von Skeltermaar, who's qualified really well, Nico. It's a P2 start for von Skeltermaar today, and he was on the podium yesterday, P2. Back to the form that we know von Skeltermaar can deliver. And to be fair, I think he would be the first to admit that it's taken him a while to get on terms with this 296 Challenge car.
I couldn't agree more, yes. Von's such a long-standing campaigner in the Ferrari Challenge, such a welcome face, including when he shows his shark's teeth. But he needed a season and a half to really find his footing until he had a continuous run of podium positions again, and he's really found his form at the beginning of this year.
You're right. There we can see many people leaving the grid right now, and it's always a very exciting place to be. And there's Charlie Hollings just walking down from looking after his driver as well. A number of the drivers have got driver coaches that guide them, and Andreas Koenig to the left-hand side of the pitch. You can see there Shintaro Akatsu to the right-hand side. Two blue cars together here. On the left-hand side is Henrik Kamstrup, and then alongside him is Ken Sato in the number 170 car.
I think, as everybody knows, Ferrari is my biggest passion. I love Ferrari from the bottom of my heart. Collecting all the cars and even more racing. I just try to enjoy as much as possible. Last year in Mugello, it was a lot of fun to win also in Finale Mondiali. I'm not like so extroverted like many other guys. I just enjoy for myself, I enjoy the moment. It was a really nice race in the wet, so it was, from my perspective, it was a perfect race. Last year we were a little bit unlucky that we were not racing all the races in Shell Am, so that at the end we did not win the season. So for this season, the goal is to win as many races as possible and to win the championship.
Great to hear from Jan Sandman. I first met Jan at a Casa Ferrari in the Middle East, where he was explaining, now here we can see Tibor Valint and Alwar Mehr have had a coming together, Nico, on a formation lap, which is why there's a bit of a gap at the front of the grid. Now that's going to be investigated after the race, but I wondered why there was a gap at the front of the grid. That is because our pole position driver Tibor Valint is not going to be able to start the race. If that doesn't hand an advantage to von Skeltermaar, wow. Right, the Circuit Paul Ricard, 5.842 kilometers, 15 turns, 6 left, 8 right. Built in the 1969, although it didn't host its first race until 1970, and it is some 50 kilometers from Marseille. As I was making my way up to the studio here, saw the president of the Circuit, Paul Ricard, and that is one Mr. Jean Lacey. So the cars are released then, and as I mentioned, I first met Jan Sandman at a Casa Ferrari, and he got cars on display. So yes, he does. He loves Ferrari from the bottom of his heart, as we heard in the interview there. So our pole sitter is not there. Let's go and take a look at the grid from the back to the front. Pino Frascara goes from the 25th place. It's 24th for Alvaro Ramos, and then alongside him is Paolo Scudieri, out of position for qualifying. Alwar Mer and Alexei Komarov. Not sure Alwar's on the grid either. Then it's Lisa Clark and Stephen Earle. And we find Charles Chan, Leon Rinby going from P18 and P17. P16 for Alexander Lima, and Fritz Müller is P15. Bear in mind, if they're yellow, they are a Shell driver. Black means Shallam, unlike Ivan David Mari and Jean Ryu. It's Boris Gideon and Masaru Yaneda going from the 6th row of the grid. Then it's Henrik Kamstrup and Ken Sato, P10 and P9. Andreas Koenig and Shintaro Akatsu, good qualifying from those two drivers. Lucas Azato and Jan Sandman are on the 3rd row of the grid. Then on the 2nd, it contains Eric Chung and Sven Schirmer. And on the front row of the grid, it's von Skeltmar, and we already know that Tibor Valent is missing. So we're coming together on the formation lap means that Tibor Valent is not able to take his pole position at the start. We ride on board with the Richard Mills safety car, which effectively means nominally, Nico, von Skeltermar's will be leading certainly the start of the race.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not something we see every day, but things can happen, and von Skeltermar awarded the chance and a de facto pole position. But obviously that means that the likes of Sven Schirmer and Jens Salmon will be even more keen to advance, because Sven actually has nobody in front of him. That makes it arguably a little bit more difficult because you don't have anybody to follow.
I completely agree, because you've got to maintain that gap, Nico. You're not allowed to fill the gap. Those are the rules. So Sven on and off the accelerator there, trying to generate some temperature whilst using the brakes, and the temperature that's created inside the braking system gets dissipated through the rims onto the tyres to try and bring the tyres up to some temperature ahead of the start of the race. They're in Sector 3 now, the most technical sector of this Circuit Paul Ricard. So the Richard Mills safety car will peel off and head into the pit lane, and then it will be the responsibility of von Skeltermar to control the pace of the rolling start for race 2 of our Copa Shell drivers across this weekend, champing at the bit to get going there inside the Ainiko Reparto Corsa Ram garage as we were. They are looking after Shintaro Akatsu in this particular race. We ride on board with Boris Gideon. He's got a good starting position. He's going from P6 within class. So yellow drivers are Shell drivers, black windscreened drivers are Shell Am drivers. Hold on to your hats. We are about to go racing. Here we go. Great start from von Skeltermar. 2-3 rows of cars go 3 abreast. Sven Schirmer and Eric Chung absolutely side by side. Sven Schirmer, I think, is going to be able to go through, but Eric Chung has to take to the runoff area and shortcut that corner. Several other drivers having to do the same as well, and race control will take a look at that to see if any driver gained any advantage by so doing. But von Skeltermar has made the start his own. Lucas Azato leading. Andreas Koenig with a good start. He's P5 overall, but P2 in class. And Boris Gideon absolutely flying through some cars ahead of him to pick up the 3rd place in class, P6 overall, although he's now dropping down the order, so something has happened to Boris Gideon. Here we are on board with Sven Schirmer as he goes to overtake Eric Chung now on the Mistral straight here at the Paul Ricard circuit. And Jan Sandman trying to get going here. Pino Frascaro was running very, very wide and gained. Eric Chung is side by side, but this time it was with Lucas Azato. So Sven Schirmer is into that P2 place. Boris Gideon has dropped to the bottom of the pack, Nico, so something happened to him without question.
Yeah, that first sequence of turns, that first chicane after the start, certainly something that we will take 1, 2, 4, 5 more looks at, because there were cars going left, right, and I believe there was a little bit of an incident as well. Most of them were able to rejoin safely, but let's see, maybe that was the moment where Boris Gideon was caught out. Not the tidiest of starts, I have to say, but we are pretty much underway with only Boris Gideon. Well, unfortunately for him, but most of the cars made it through that first sequence of turns. There's Paolo Scudieri stranded.
Ironically, what you were saying about not the most tidy of starts was the one where, and that's the reason why Paolo Scudieri found himself turned around. Ironically, it's one of the starts where we've not seen start under investigation, I don't think.
No, I thought everybody ran to their grid box, and shout out to Sven Schirmer, who really kept his position in spite of no car in front of him, who hasn't really made too much progress and actually went back one position in spite of Tibor Valentin. Not there is Jan Sandberg, which we would have probably expected him to go the other way.
Yes, I was extolling the virtues of Andreas Koenig, who moved up 3 places to P2, chasing Lucas Azato, who's leading the Copa Shell AM drivers. So it's von Skeltermar, who's built a margin of 2.9 seconds over Sven Schirmer. And then is Eric Chung running in P3. Then we see 2 Shell AM drivers, Lucas Azato and Andreas Koenig, before Jan Sandman and Ken Sato. So the incident involving cars 108 and 101 is under investigation. That was Jean Roux and Paolo Scudieri. We saw Paolo Scudieri going around.
Drivers, and some take more advantage of that than others.
Yes.
Let's see if there is any
various bits of bodywork being displaced from the car there.
For sure, Boris Gideon, he is running, and he's not lost any significant pace, so no substantial damage to the car. However, his race and his race position have been royally punted down the order.
Yes, some really compromised. So Andreas Koenig then going for gold here, trying very hard to get past Lucas Azato. This is for the lead of the race, and we know how good Andreas Koenig is. He was championship contender last year, Nico, I think it's fair to say, until maybe the second half of the season, or maybe the final third of the season, when things started not to go his way. Andreas Koenig, I mean, he was very much involved in that battle with Sven Schirmer and Jan Sandman at the beginning of the season, but kind of it didn't go his way towards the end of the season, and wasn't always his fault, you know. Luck plays a part.
Yeah, Andreas Koenig, as he dives very deep into that turn now, that will probably leave him vulnerable to Jan Sandman. He had this curious year where he was always quick, but failed to put together a complete weekend.
Yes.
Because he was always one good result and one not quite so, including Hockenheim, where he, by his own admission, he was going for the lead of the race and kind of a little bit too early on the throttle and was down the order.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the story of his season, so certainly looks to be more consistent this year.
Von Skeltermar sets the fastest lap for Copa Shell, then in the lead of the race. Of course, he's got completely clear tarmac ahead of him. Now, just something to bear in mind here is some of the contestant drivers, as Cyril, Von Skeltermar's partner, looks on, is Jan Sandman has got 2 track limit warnings already, so too has Henrik Kamstrup. I say that because we're only 5 minutes into the duration of this race, and the thing is, you get 3 track limit warnings, that's fine. When you get a 4th, you get a penalty. And then if you do another 3, you get another further penalty, and you end up with those time penalties really hampering indeed. Now, I'm being advised that we will see on screen in a moment that picking up a 10-second time penalty is going to be the 108 car of Jean Rieu, and that would have been with Paolo Scudieri, and there it is, confirmation. 10-second time penalty for causing a collision, which will drop Jean Rieu down the order. He's currently running P18 in the race overall, and P18 in the race overall is P11 in class. And of course, it won't be P11 in class when he has to take that 10-second time penalty. So the incident involving cars 186 and 103 in turn 5 is under investigation. Now, Nico, that may add to that might answer a question from our story. We know that Boris Gideon dropped down the order. Now, Boris Gideon, car number 103, car number 186 is that of Jan Sandman. So clearly there was a coming together, which we've not seen between those 2 drivers.
We did see the Boris Gideon car spin, but we really didn't see the incident that caused it, and that was, by assumption, would be contact with Jan Sandman, who incidentally already has picked up 2 track limit infractions. So things are not necessarily getting any better for Jan Sandman.
Yes, I mentioned that, and so too has Andreas Koenig. And Andreas Koenig, who of course is trying to get on terms with Lucas Azato. I would have suggested he's let Jan Sandman go through, because the battle with Jan Sandman is pointless, because he's in a different category.
Absolutely, and I mean, just bear in mind, obviously Jan Sandman and Sven Schirmer, both were Shell M drivers last year, very good drivers, but they have stepped up and they're really mixing it up with the Shell drivers. So to see the likes of Sven Schirmer and Jan Sandman in the front end of the Shell pack is quite an achievement in itself. But today Jan Sandman doesn't find it quite as easy as he did yesterday.
No. Von Skeltermaier has built a 2.4 second margin. There he is, centre screen over Sven Schirmer and Eric Chung. Neither Eric Chung nor Sven Schirmer able to dent Von Skeltermaier's lead by much, and Jan Sandman now has got past Lucas Azato. So all of a sudden it's a 4-way fight to the front of the Shell, if indeed Jan Sandman can get on the back of this pack. There you can see him rounding the final turn. Those 4 drivers are all Shell drivers. So it's Skeltermaier, Schirmer, Chung and Sandman. With 4 laps completed now in replay here. Is this the Boris Gideon incident? That was actually Jan Sandman being let by Lucas Azato.
Yeah, and he actually indicated.
Yeah, I mean, he couldn't have done it any nicer if he'd puled into a lay-by, and, you know, because for Lucas Azato, no point fighting with Jan Sandman. So again, in a different category. Not very often you see it made quite so obvious that you can come through, friend, but there we are. It did on that occasion happen. And so now Jan Sandman can put his foot down and try and get onto the back of Eric Chung. And indeed is doing so by setting the fastest first sector of anyone. But as Nico pointed out, 2 track limits warnings. He doesn't want to be picking up any more of those, or he could be in trouble. We just saw the flip-flop speed camera cars going through as we look at a rear-facing onboarders. Now anything Jan Sandman does is going to count as pretty much 0, because you'll see it on screen in a moment. Car number 186, which is Jan Sandman running P4, is going to pick up a 10-second time penalty for causing a collision. And that was with Boris Gideon, we think. So, as I say, you'll see it on screen in a moment. It's just being fed to us from race control into our broadcast studio here. But being the nice sort of people that we are, we want you to have the news first. And yes, you'll, as I say, see it on screen in a moment. We're running the telemetry on Sven Schirmer and Eric Chung. You can see what gear they're in, what speed they're pulling. If it's green, they're accelerating. If it's red, they're braking. And love to have this information provided and put on screen so that you can see exactly what's going on with these wonderful Ferrari Challenge 296 cars. So on track, Jan Sandman is P4. Now, I don't know how far back Ken Sato is, but basically Jan Sandman's going to have to stay 10 seconds ahead of Ken Sato to maintain his position. So you can see the 2 red bars against the Jan Sandman graphic on the left-hand side of your screen. The 2 bars indicate that he's picked up that penalty. We go back to riding on board here. The Sven Schirmer car looking back at Eric Chung. Von Skeltermaier leading by 1.498 seconds. There is confirmation. I promised you it would come. The 186 time penalty for causing a collision with Boris Gideon. So it's Von Skeltermaier from Sven Schirmer and Eric Chung for our Shell drivers. For Shell Am, it's Lucas Azato, Andreas Koenig, and well done to our P3 driver, Masaru Yaneda at the moment, who is running P3 in Shell Am. Eric Chung is looking quicker than Sven Schirmer here and is trying to find a way by. All of a sudden, the battle for P2 is intensifying just as we ride on board. How opportune and appropriate for us to be looking at that shot right now. So, where can Eric Chung have a go? Surely, as he flashed his lights momentarily, for a moment, Sven Sherman just does know how to defend, that's for sure. Skeltermar doing a good job maintaining his margin. Masaru Yaneda dropping down the order right now, which is a great shame because he was running in a provisional podium place, and it's Henrik Kamstrup that now moves up into P3 in the Shell Abs. We've got a yellow flag at turn 9, and that is because Masaru Yaneda, one assumes something has happened because we saw Masaru dropping down the order. As I say, he was running in P3. It's now Henrik Kamstrup. So yellow flag, and that is on the back straight, isn't it? The Mistral straight in the chicane. That's where the yellow flag incident is at turn 9. So there's our race leader. There's P2, P3, P4 on track. But bear in mind, Sandman has got a 10-second time penalty. But Sandman is, let's take a look at this. He is certainly 10 seconds ahead of Ken Sato. So he would hold on to that P4 position at the moment if everything stayed as it is right now. 16.5 minutes or thereabouts of this race remaining for Ferrari Challenge Copa Shell and Copa Shell Am. You're joining us live from Circuit Paul Ricard.
Yeah, and once you have such a time penalty, the last thing you want is the race to finish like under the safety car, because that bunches everybody up. So that yellow flag, which still remains, and we can see it here, and maybe we could pick out where the Yoneda car is. Certainly Jan Salmon will be rooting for that not to be a safety car and a race neutralization.
Well, at the moment, it is just localized yellow. You can see the damage to the Jan Salmon car, the corner of the Jan Salmon car there. I just saw a car perhaps stricken on the left-hand side of our picture as we came out of the chicane. So here is Eric Chung once again flashing his lights at Sven Schirmer ahead. And until that car is put into a position of safety, presumably, Nico, through turn 9, the yellow flag will remain. Which means you certainly can't do anything there. Double yellow at turn 9 means absolutely slow down and no overtaken.
Yeah, and we saw that in the UK race yesterday, that was a little bit later in the race, but that yellow flag stayed until the end of the race. They didn't try any recovery operations, simply out of safety concerns, not to get a different vehicle or recovery on track.
Daniele Diamato then talking to Eric Chung, his driver. Daniele Diamato, who has himself won a lot in Ferrari Challenge. He knows what he's talking about. Great guy, great driver coach. Coaching Eric Chung right now. Eric Chung running in P3, but fancies this P2. But here comes Jan Salmon. Now, Jan Salmon very much aware of the time penalty he's got. His team will have communicated that, I feel sure. But the further he can get himself up the order, of course, it does mean that he is aiming to gain as many seconds as he possibly can away from anybody else that is chasing behind him. It's a great overhead shot, isn't it, through that sequence of turns that you can see there, and the paint that the Paul Ricard circuit is famed for. So Sven Schirmer defending well against Eric Chung, who, dare I say it, is clearly quicker, but it's all very well being clearly quicker. You've got to be able to go through and get by. Yellow flag has been lifted, Nico, as you point out to me, so quite clearly they have managed to move that stricken car to safety.
And Eric Chung tried to maximize that opportunity and just get by. Didn't manage to do that, and still chasing Sven Schirmer, but certainly that means one of the prime overtaking opportunities on the circuit has been reinstated effectively. So over the last 13 minutes plus 1 lap, that's got to be one where when you're defending, you will be extra keen to keep that car on the racing line or maybe to the inside.
Jan Salmon having a look at Eric Chung. Whoa, very sideways moment for Eric Chung there. He manages to hold on to it, but the back end of the car just stepping out a little bit. Great car control from Eric Chung. And his quest to find a way past Sven Schirmer. Of course, all this is playing nicely into the hands, you would have thought, of von Skeltermar, but actually, Nico, what it's doing is propelling everybody closer to him, because the gap to the leader now is merely 0.8.
Oh,
and dive bombing through the final turn goes Eric Chung, and so too Jan Sandman. Sven Schirmer missing out on 2 places there. That's not an obvious place for an overtake, but Eric was determined.
Yeah, we've seen it work, even the Ferrari Challenge. I remember Luca Ludwig doing it once a couple of years ago. And Eric Chung is obviously wise to that, having been driven here quite a number of times. And as we've seen sometimes in the past, the not obvious overtaking opportunities are where you can catch another driver out every now and then, and Eric Chung did exactly that. Sven Schirmer now on track behind Jan Sandman. Obviously the penalty means he's still P3, but his opportunity to move forward certainly significantly restrained at this stage.
What concerns me, Nico, is the sudden seeming drop in pace of von Skeltermar. Or is it the fact that they were fighting so fiercely behind that they were actually encouraging each other to go more quickly? 6 of one, half a dozen of the other? I'm not sure. Let's take a look at that overtake all over again. Eric Chung spotted the opportunity. To be fair to Sven Schirmer, he left him racing room when it would have been very easy to close the door. He had to run wide to avoid any collision. And he certainly wouldn't deserve to pick up a time penalty for that. But, of course, once the hole is opened up, and there you can see Andrea Gagliardini, who is driver coach to Sven Schirmer, looking pretty unhappy about that. Now, Eric Chung and Jan Sandman. Jan Sandman is pushing here. There's no doubt about it. Von Skeltermar is losing pace. Eric Chung is trying to attack and defend at the same time, and that's a really difficult position to be in. And von Skeltermar fighting to maintain this lead. Eric Chung being pressured by Jan Sandman. Reminiscent of the start of the season last year. These drivers all so competitive and determined. So here is von Skeltermar leading the race, but by just over 2/10. Where's Eric Chung going to have a go? Where's Jan Sandman going to have a go? And is Sven Schirmer going to come back at this lot? Which it is possible sometimes, Nico. It pays you just to keep a little way back from the big battle that's going on. Let those fight amongst themselves and then be ready to pick up the pieces. Sandman takes a look at the inside. However, the momentum remained with Eric Chung, and he was able to see off the 186 car. But for everyone here, it's just a question of when, not if, somebody somewhere is going to move a place or two.
Yeah, I mean, Jan Sandman, he obviously still got that penalty hanging over him. So I think for von Skeltermar, he would kind of like Jan Sandman to overtake Eric Chung, because that would effectively give him a little bit of a cushion, because it kind of is academic whether Jan Sandman overtakes him. Eric Chung, different story, but with less than 10 minutes remaining, this is really, really interesting, because there are so many permutations in terms of how that can go, and we are glad to be standing by and watching this. Sven Schirmer, it seems his pace isn't quite there.
I would agree with that. He's dropped back, hasn't he? As we look at the Lucas Azato car. Lucas Azato leading in the Shell Amps ahead of Andreas Koenig. You can see in the picture there. And it is Henrik Kamstrup that's running P3 ahead of Charles Chan for those Shell Am drivers. There's Andreas Koenig. Andreas Koenig then driving for the Emil Frey Racing Organisation. And once again, turning the wick up a bit is Jan Sandman on Eric Chung, and Eric Chung on von Skeltermar. Von Skeltermar still leading the race. Rattling across the curbs goes Eric Chung. And Jan Sandman just looking for an opportunity to dive to the inside of Eric Chung, and that opportunity has not presented itself yet, or has it? They do go side by side. I think there may have been a little touch between the two of them. And Eric Chung and Jan Sandman now. It's a drag race going into the next turn. Eric Chung holds on to that P2 place for the moment. Is Jan Sandman going to dive? Eric Chung tries to defend and does defend. So for the moment, von Skeltermar is rubbing his hands with invisible soap, because the more these two fight, it means he can try and escape up the road. We've got 8¼ minutes plus 1 lap remaining, and you can see how when you go into battle, it slows your pace, it reduces your pace. And you can see that by the gap of 7/10 that von Skeltermar has been able to build in 0 time at all, frankly.
100%. Now, one might argue that actually Eric Chung just let Jan Sammeng go. Really doesn't matter to you, and you might be quicker in coming and chasing von Skeltemer, but that's all easily said than done, because you're a racing driver. You're never letting anybody go if you can somehow avoid it. But really, as you said, von Skeltemer, he will revel the fact that those drivers behind him are battling.
The back end of the car of Eric Chung looks a bit loose, Nico. I think he's really driven that very, very hard, and maybe, just maybe, the grip being afforded to him isn't where it once was. I think that's an obvious thing, but other drivers seem to be handling that loss of grip a bit better, although Jan Sammeng runs really, really wide there and gets almost a slingshot. Now, what has Jan Sammeng got in terms of track limits? Only 2, so he's got 1 in the bag, as it were, as a spare, if you were so bold as to use them. And there, Eric Chung, did he make a mistake? Because that was really rather too easy, Nico.
Yeah, didn't quite hug the inside of that turn, and that allowed Jan Sammeng just enough space to get through.
But I think he was probably listening to you and thinking, do you know what, I'm fighting a battle that I don't need to here. I'll just let Sammeng through. He's got that penalty. It isn't going to matter an iota, is it? And to be fair, Fons would be wise to do the same. Unless, in the space of 6 minutes and a lap, Jan Sammeng could build a margin of 10 seconds, which I think would be a tall order.
He probably... yeah, I mean, it's a very fair point, and actually, I mean, the two are both Kessel Racing drivers. They are teammates. They won't fight each other tooth and nail, but equally, it's not like in other racing categories. As we take another look at that, I thought there was just a little bit of a sideways moment for Eric, where I lost a little bit of momentum and line, and that was just enough for Jan Sammeng, who incidentally just picked up his 3rd track limit infraction. Not in the overtake, though. Anyway, though they are teammates, but it's not like in other categories where teammates just go by. They're in their own race. So if Jan gets by Fons, it's probably more Fons thinking, yeah, you don't really need to lose time fighting when you are reeled back in 10 seconds. And
that's precisely, in my opinion, what's happened there.
Actually not. It might have been. We didn't quite see it. Fons actually lost a lot of time, if that was his intention, because now Eric Chung is right on his rear bumper.
Yeah, that's curious, isn't it? Perhaps you're right. And look at Jan Sammeng, who's up the road. I mean, he's got pace, Nico. There's no question about that. Now, where you and I were thinking a 10-second margin is going to be impossible, as Eric Chung, I think, has got the better of von Skeltemer. Almost. I'll tell you what has Sammeng got over, as we're seeing, there's going to be a time penalty for car number 191. It's just attracted to the number all of a sudden, but that is for Ivan David Mari. As here we can see von Skeltemer now. Von Skeltemer effectively is doing Jan Sammeng a real favour here, Nico.
Yeah, by fighting, they slow each other down. Let's see how big the gap is at the line. It is 2.7 seconds, so he still needs 7.3 seconds.
Which is big.
He's only got 3 laps to do that. It's not unheard of, especially if the other cars are fighting, but it would be a monumental achievement.
So this was the overtake then. I think Fons realised very late in the day that Jan Sammeng was there, and that's why he lost so much time, Nico. You were right. However, Fons is still defending steadfastly against Eric Chung and holding on to that P2 place. Now, if you're looking at the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen, I know it says that Jan Sammeng is P1, and indeed on track he is, but look at the red bars on the right-hand side of the graphics. That indicates 2 5-second time penalties. 2 times 5 equals 10. 10 seconds is going to be added to his race time. He has got 3.5 seconds margin to the good. He needs 10 seconds to be able to hold on to that place. Luke Cesato, Andreas Koenig, Henrik Kamstrup, the top 3 in the Shell Am drivers. And we have just under 3 minutes plus 1 lap remaining, and the skies are darkening. Just thought I'd mention that. A big curveball to throw into the mix, wouldn't it, Nico?
Yeah, absolutely, it would. Not that we don't have enough drama on track. Jan Sabman's lead 3.7 seconds and 4.8 seconds towards Sven Schirmer, because obviously that is also a battle.
Yes.
Even if it's not P1, he would so dearly love to at least be on the podium, but he would have to find another 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So let's see about that. Here is the battle in, well, I say the battle in the EMS, it's actually an intra-class battle between Ken Sato and Henrik Kamstrup, and Kamstrup is in P3, but he can't be slowed down too much.
Charles Chan up his trumpet, hasn't he, Nico? Eric Chung has gone through on von Skelterma, I believe.
Yeah, just picking up the back end of that, and I'm curious to see a replay if Eric Chung made the same move work twice, but von Skelterma is not done with this yet.
No, he isn't, and Sven Schirmer is just waiting to pick up the pieces, I think, as these two go to battle. And here comes Sven Schirmer now on von Skelterma.
And while all that is happening, the gap has extended to 6 seconds, so...
Stop it, stop it.
Do you want to listen into the talk between Jan Sabman and his driver coach? I have a prediction of what's being said there.
My goodness me. Yeah, we're riding on board with Sven Schirmer and Eric Chung P2, von Skelterma P3. Here is the replay of that overtake that you wanted, Nico. Do you know what? It's Eric's knowledge of this track. You're absolutely right. He puts it into that turn, the final turn, and he just makes it stick. Now, I don't think there was a track limits there. I think he was within the white lines. So I think it was a fair overtake. He certainly slings it in late, but you know what? Racing room was given by Fons as well. So absolutely fair insofar as we could see. So it's Sandman on track with a 10-second time penalty against him. Eric Chung, von Skelterma, then Sven Schirmer. And at the moment, if the race finished now, which would be 30 seconds on a lap early, it would be Eric Chung, von Skelterma and Sven Schirmer, the top 3.
Absolutely. But Jan Sabman will cross the line in but a few moments with time remaining. That means it's going to be 2 more laps from the moment he does that.
And at the moment, he's got a deficit to Sven Schirmer of 1.8 seconds, which would see Jan Sabman on the podium for P3, wouldn't it?
And it's 3 seconds remaining on the clock that Jan Sabman takes the timing line, and that means just squeezing through, and he wants that extra lap. He needs that effectively, because now he's got 2 minutes and 6 seconds more, roughly, to do this, to find those extra seconds.
I think Sandman could end up with a podium out of this, which would be extraordinary.
I'm not going to make any predictions, but I would agree with that. Barring a safety car or something like that, he has a chance to win this.
Well, let's see. Let's see. I mean, at the very least, we're keeping an eye on the times here, because with that time penalty for Jan Sabman, this is going to impact and affect how the podium looks. Von Skelterma picks up a track limits warning. It's academic. It's only one that he's got. And the gap between Jan Sabman and Eric Chung is 6.4 to von Skelterma 7.2 to Sven Schirmer 8.6. It ain't going to be enough as it stands.
Not as it stands, but there is still a few meters to do, and Jan Sabman just put in the quickest second sector of anybody ever in this race. Just very briefly, as we're glued to this, 3 drivers...
Oh, it's up to, forgive me interrupting you, it's up to 9 seconds now, the gap. Wow. We're having to look at the timing screen as much as look at the main screen because of the gaps, because they're going to be oh so critical. This is Lucas Asato and Andreas Koenig. No problems there for those 2 drivers.
However, Andreas Koenig up at 3 warnings, Ken Sato 3 warnings, Henrik Kamstrup 3 warnings. So all these 3 also have to be very mindful of where they place the car and not to exceed the track limits another time. So very, very critical. 9.8 seconds Sandman to Schirmer.
He needs to find 2/10.
I think that podium is Jan Sandman's to lose almost. 6.4 to Eric Chung. That's harder to do. But again,
on to the final lap right now. This is extraordinary because it's playing out. It's up to 9.9. So this means that if he can find a 10th now, we're talking about Jan Sandman here. If he can find a 10th, he won't be the race leader, but he will be P3, which will be remarkable given he's got a 10-second time penalty against him as well. And it will very, very harsh on von Skeltmar. It will knock him off the podium, Nico.
It would knock Schirmer off the podium if I'm not
I beg your
misled.
pardon.
Sorry.
And he's done it. He's done it. It's up to 10.1.
And those two drivers, they're really in a difficult predicament because if they start fighting, they might both lose out to Sven Schirmer. On the other hand, they want to fight. They want to get one position better. So it's a difficult situation, especially for von Skeltmar, because if he starts engaging in a battle, he's the first one who would drop down another position. So we're at 7.4 seconds of a gap. I mean, losing 2.5 seconds over the last remainder of the lap is difficult. I think that's maybe a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so. What an extraordinary race this has been. We are on the final lap with Jan Sandman leading on track, but he has got a 10-second time penalty. However, he has got the time in hand, if you like, over Sven Schirmer. There is Sven Schirmer, the Penske Sportwagen Hamburg driver. He's not going to be best pleased, Nico.
No, but I mean, again, he was elevated from Shell M to Shell, and he is really holding his own. And there is Jan Sandman.
Now, he will take the checkered flag, Nico. Here he comes around the final turn. Checkered flag awaits him. And on track, he takes the win. However, he's got a 10-second time penalty. We're predicting that he will be third. Here comes Eric Chung, who will actually become the winner, ahead of von Skeltmar, P2. Jan Sandman, sure enough, takes P3, Nico. Right, let's focus now on the Shell Am drivers and Luke Zazzato. What an opening to the 2026 season for him. 2 wins out of 2 starts. He takes P1 for our Shell Am drivers. Andreas Koenig will take, maybe this isn't over yet, we'll take P2, and it's going to be Henrik Kamstrup that takes P3. And the reason I'm saying this ain't over yet is because we're seeing a message on our screen which says that car number 198 is under investigation for leaving the track and gaining an advantage, Nico.
That could still play out. And to add to that, Sven Schirmer got his 4th track limit warning on the final lap, so that means he gets, if everything holds up, a 5-second penalty, which drops him even further. So it won't change his position for now, but if Eric Chung gets a penalty, that would kind of be academic almost, depending on the penalty. So don't go anywhere. This might still change. I mean, as if we didn't have enough drama during the race, we're still extending that for another few minutes. So it might actually mean that we have a little bit of a delay on the podium while they sort through this. It might not actually, but
yeah, I'm not sure I want to predict this, how it's going to go, Nico.
So the 5-second time penalty for Sven Schirmer has been announced. That is for track limits. That was kind of the obvious one that we expected. So the 3-second deficit to Eric Chung becomes an 8-second deficit.
Right.
For the moment, that doesn't change anything.
Right.
However, were there any changes to the Eric Chung final time?
Can I fill my chart in yet?
No.
Okay.
Lucas Zazzato has won in Trofeo. No further action,
right.
We are advised. No further action. So Eric Chung, who crossed the timing line, not first, but with the belief that he had won the race, actually stays in that position. You can fill in your chart now, Dave.
Thanks, Nico.
Eric Chung, the winner, von Skeltmar second, Jan Sandman. And it was only 1.4 seconds that he eventually ended up, after the 10 seconds had been applied, behind. So it wouldn't have taken much more fighting between the drivers behind him.
Oh.
And I'm really curious to see how he feels.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it was remarkable driving. I wonder if he was across all of that and knew what he'd got to do. I mean, you know, sometimes ignorance is bliss, isn't it, Nico? Sometimes.
Yeah, I don't think that was the case, because I'm sure that he was told to push as much as possible, because he needed every 1/10 of a second.
And he found them. He found them. My goodness me. Daniele Diamato there, ready to congratulate Eric Chung. He's getting on the roof of the car. Steady on, Eric. Oh. Well done, Eric. Welcome back to the Ferrari Challenge. We missed you.
And coming back with a victory on the first race back. Very, very good. Von Skeltemer, P2.
He lost a bit of pace, didn't he, Nico? Something happened. Something happened, I think.
And it may just have been something like higher tire pressures at the beginning, which meant that he suffered down the road, but came within 4/10 of a victory and continues his strong form. So definitely a very, very good showing from Fons.
There's Corinne Chung, Eric's wife. Right, confirmation of the result, then Eric Chung taking the lead and the win from von Skeltemer and Jan Sandman. Sven Schirmer, P4. Now, Luke Cesato and Andreas Koenig, the top two in the Shell Am. It was Ken Sato, P7, then Henrik Kamstrup, P3 for the Shell Am drivers. Then it was Charles Chan and Fritz Muller. Ahead of Boris Gideon, Alexander Lima, Shintaro Akatsu, Pino Frescaro, Ivan David Mari, Stephen Earle, Sean Ryu, Lisa Clark and Paolo Scudieri. They occupy the next positions. Ahead of Alexei Komarov, Alvaro Ramos, Leon Rinbeek, Masaru Yaneda, Thibaut Valent and Alwan Meyer. Not classified or not started as appropriate. And we're going to be hearing from Eric Chung, the Formula Racing driver who has returned to the Ferrari Challenge this weekend. We're thrilled that he is back, and he has returned with a vengeance because he's taken a win in race 2 here at Paul Ricard. So a great job done by Eric Chung. And that will put him in good stead to head to the next one in Mugello, which is one of his tracks that he knows very well, and convinced that Eric Chung has done so well here in Paul Ricard, knowing the circuit pretty well as he does. We're going to hear from him right now because he's down there with Ludovica.
Wow, Eric, congratulations. I think that this result for you has several meanings, so I want to discover how do you feel?
I want to cry. I'm so happy. I'm too emotional, but I'm happy. After my accident, I come back.
Thank you, thank you.
Now that he's mentioned it, I feel that I can mention it as well. He did have a big accident at Monza at the beginning of the season last year. It was just one of those things. It was no one's fault. You know, it happened. And Eric has come back from that. He's had to take a year off, if you like, but he was determined to come back to racing. He has come back to racing, and that's why there are tears in his eyes, Nico, because he's so pleased to be back and take a win.
100%.
Emotions. It's what Ferrari racing is all about. So well done, Eric, and well done, Corinne, for always being there. And right now we're going to hear from our race winner in the Shell Am category, and that's Lucas Cesato for Castellet Racing.
Lucas, congratulations. 1 pole position and 2 win here at the Paul Ricard. So a perfect weekend.
Race 2, Ferrari Challenge, Copa Shell, about to take to the track. Every driver champing at the bit, ready to get going in perfectly dry conditions. And as the cars were released, there were cars going everywhere right at the very start. So who's it going to be that will make the best of the start? Then Andreas Koenig moving up several places for the Copa Shell Am drivers. 1 or 2 other drivers take an absolute slingshot, including Ivan David Mari. 1 or 2 went round, as you can see, and oh my goodness me, bits of bodywork going flying. This is Jan Sandman on a real charge here in the 186 car. Von Skeltemer leading the race. Eric Chung disposing of Sven Schirmer to move into P2. It's Eric Chung then who has managed to get by, and now the chase will be on to Von Skeltemer, the leader of the race. Jan Sandman through on Eric Chung now. However, hearing that Jan Sandman has got a time penalty against him, he goes through on von Skeltermar. So effectively, Jan Sandman on track is leading the race, but he has got a time penalty as Eric Chung goes through on von Skeltermar. He's returned to racing this weekend for the 198 driver, Eric Chung. And Jan Sandman takes the checkered flag. However, the time penalty will push him down to P3. So the winner will be Eric Chung ahead of von Skeltermar for the Shell drivers. For the Shell Am drivers, it will be Lucas Azato, Andreas Koenig, and Henrik Kamstrup, the top three. Eric Chung delighted with his return to racing this weekend. Podium next, and Michele Mambelli will be bringing the drivers out with a Shell or Shell.
Now we are ready for the first podium. Coppa Shell, the winners. Third on the podium, Jan Sandman. Jan Sandman on the podium. Second driver on the podium, second race, von Skeltermar. And the winner is, welcome back, Eric Chung. Team Formula Racing, please near the podium. Formula Racing. Corinna. Now national anthem. Claps for the winners. The trophy are presented by Mr. Francesco Balli, Ferrari West Europe Regional Manager. Francesco for the third driver on the podium, Jan Sandman. The trophy for the second driver, Francesco Balli, take the trophy for von Skeltermar. And the winner trophy, Eric Chung. The trophy for the team Formula Racing, Francesco Balli present the trophy, Corinna, for Formula Racing. And please, Francesco, near the podium, please. All drivers on the first step. All drivers, please. And Francesco on the podium with Corinna. Okay. And driver, please, up your trophy. Rise your trophy, lift your trophy. Okay, perfect, okay. Pictures and photos from Le Castellet, Circuit Paul Ricard. Second race, Coppa Shell. Okay. The guest out of the podium, please, driver, wait. Okay, champagne!
Taking P3, Castellet Racing, Jan Sandman. Taking P2, Castellet Racing, von Skeltermar. Taking P1 for Formula One, for Formula Racing. I nearly said Formula One. That would have been a Freudian. Eric Chung. And how lovely was it that Formula Racing sent Corinne Chung, Eric Chung's wife, up there to collect the trophy. Exactly the right thing to do. Ferrari Challenge, big on excitement, big on entertainment, big heart.
And now, second podium, Coppa Shell AM. Third driver on the podium, Henrik Kamstrup. Second on the podium, Andreas Koenig. And the winner, Lucas Azato. on the podium, near the podium, Castle Racing. National Anthem. Our claps for the winners, Coppa Shell IM. The trophy are presented by our official factory driver, Alessio Rovera, for the third driver on the podium, Henry Kamstrup. The trophy for the second, Andreas König, Alessio Rovera, Ferrari factory driver. And for the winner, Andreas Lucas Azzato. And the trophy for team manager, Castle Racing. And now, please, all drivers on the podium and the guests on the podium. Please call out the podium and Alessio Rovera, okay. Okay, wait 5 seconds for the guest, out of the podium the guest, and now champagne!
I have to say, I find the podium celebrations every bit as entertaining as the race sometimes.
For Formula Racing, Henrik Kamstrup taking P3. Well done, Henrik. Taking P2 in our Shell Am category, Andreas König for ML Fry Racing. And having a pretty good weekend of it, Ronnie Kessel and Kessel Racing, because Lucas Azzato has made it 2 out of 2. Happen to notice, Nico, that Ronnie Kessel is here this weekend as well.
Just as well for the figurehead almost of Castle Racing.
Absolutely. In the Drivers' Championship, Jan Sandman is leading by 2 points ahead of von Skeltermeyer, and Eric Chung is P3. Then it's Sven Schirmer and Lisa Clark doing a good job in P5. Ken Sato, Alexander Lima, then Leon Rinbeek. They are the top 8 in terms of the Copa Shell Drivers' Championship, with Timur Valint regrettably not able to take his pole position start on this race. That will hurt his championship aspirations, but we are only on round 1. In the Copa Shell Am Drivers' Championship, it's Lucas Azzato heading Andreas König and Henrik Kamstrup, then Boris Gideon, Charles Chan, Shintaro Akatsu, Fritz Muller, Jean Rue, Massaro Yanedo and Pino Frascaro, Ivan David Mari, Paolo Scudieri, Stephen Earle, Alexei Komarov, Alvaro Ramos is P15 in terms of the Shell Am Drivers' Championship. So from Circuit Paul Ricard, both of the races from Ferrari Challenge Copa Shell are done and dusted, and from Copa Shell Am as well. Mrs. Pino makes an appearance, as does Sven Schirmer. We hope you've enjoyed the races from Copa Shell as much as we have. Trofeo Pirelli still to come. From Nico and from myself, thank you so much for watching. Bye. Hello everyone, and welcome to round one of the Ferrari Challenge for 2026, and it's race 2 for our Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli AM drivers here in Europe. Very much looking forward to this race. It's quite cold here in Paul Ricard, the La Castellet, and the south of France, and it's very much not south of France weather, frankly. 12 degrees we have at the moment. And this is what it looks like when the sun is shining beautifully, which it is not doing today. This is what it's like, and actually this is one of the better shots as a backdrop, because out of our commentary studio it looks frighteningly dark. Right, our calendar for 2026 is a brilliant one. We're here in La Castellet, then we go to Mugello, then Spielberg in Austria, 2 support races to the Le Mans 24-hour races, round 4, then Portimao, Budapest and Barcelona, which is round 7, but is also the Finale Mondiale event as well. So it is a super calendar. There you can see the track temperature is 5 degrees higher than the air temperature, and there's about 8 kilometers per hour of wind gusting at the moment. So that's the way it looks here at the Paul Ricard circuit. We're about an hour from Marseille, and this is the number 77 car of the Francorchamps Motors Brussels driver Gilles Renmans. Super driver, very good, managed to put it P2, was not able to best Sergio Paulet, who is going from P1, and indeed this is the car that is on pole position in the Pirelli class. Sergio Paulet going from P1 on the grid. I spoke to him as I was making my way up to our broadcast studio here, and listen to them laughing and just having fun, and that's what motor racing is all about. The big thumbs up as well from the Inico Reparto Corsa Ram driver. Very good driver is Sergio Paulet, and that was proven yesterday when he took the win. And here is the altogether laid-back Michael Verhagen, the Ferrari Warsaw driver who qualified P2. Michael Verhagen is a Pirelli AM driver, a driver of the number 33 car who won the Pirelli AM race yesterday. Bear in mind, the Pirelli drivers have a red strip across the top of the windscreen. The Pirelli AM drivers have a white strip across the top of the windscreen, and those color schemes also apply to their graphics that you will see on screen as well. So if the class number is colored red, then it's a Pirelli driver. If it's white, it's a Pirelli AM driver. And we were looking at Anders Bidstrup, who has put it on pole position for our Pirelli AM drivers. Brilliant qualifying for Anders Bidstrup. Delighted that the brothers are back, Anders and Jacob. Jacob didn't have quite such a good time of it in qualifying. He's starting from P12 overall, P9 in class. And this is, or was, Nobuhiro Imada. And here we can see the number 3 car of Max Mugelli, birthday boy yesterday. Max Mugelli then in qualifying put it P3 in class. That's P4 overall. So well done to Max Mugelli, and ever present in the Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli. And alongside me, Nico Spalek. As always, we're looking forward to a good Trofeo Pirelli race.
Indeed we do, and we had a great race yesterday, and hopefully today is going to be more of the same, with close battles across the AMS and Pirelli. It came down really to the last lap, especially with Sergio Paulet and Gilles Renmans. It was only a matter of one more lap potentially when things could have changed, but they didn't.
And that's one of the beauties of the sport that we love so much. It can happen and it can't happen sometimes, so yeah. Let's take a look at what happened in race 1 then for Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli AM. On the grid, ready to go racing. Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli underway for 2026. The drivers, the mix of Pirelli and Pirelli AM drivers then ready to do battle for 30 minutes plus 1 lap. And you can see how tight it was. Sergio Paulet doing a good job right at the start of the race, putting the car in front, and he is taking that P1 position. And he would be chased all along. Nobuhiro Imada, what a start for Nobuhiro Imada. Him taking the place away from Michael Verhagen. And Gilles Renmans was also in the mix, and around went the number 40 car then. Strife there for Jacob Bidstrup, picking up damage as well. He would have to retire the car eventually. What a battle between Nobuhiro Imada and Michael Verhagen that would ensue for lap after lap after lap. It was completely compelling and really interesting. Brilliant driving between these two drivers into the chicane. Nobuhiro Imada losing out then to Herbert Guys. And Nobuhiro Imada doing such a good job in trying to defend, and here on board with Gilles Redmonds as he's trying to find a way past Sergio Paula. It's going to be a drag race all the way to the checkered flag. Who is going to take the win? It's going to be Sergio Paula who does it ahead of Gilles Redmonds, who takes P2. And it's going to be Michael Verhagen that wins in Pirelli Ham ahead of Danilo Del Favero. Wow, what a brilliant Pirelli race, the opening race of the Pirelli season. It was an awesome race. Really enjoyed it. Looking forward to today's immensely as well. 30 minutes plus 1 lap on the clock then for our drivers. And as you can see, non-essential personnel leaving the grid right now. And yeah, just a few seconds before we will be getting the cars underway on their formation lap. Now, formation lap in Ferrari Challenge always means a rolling start. The Richard Mille safety car will peel off into the pit lane. It will be down to the drivers to control the pace of the rolling start as they head towards the lighting gantry. And when the lights go out, they will be racing. There you can see, and you can also hear the wind as well. Now, we have a Ferrari factory driver with us this weekend, and let's find out what he has been up to. Alessio Rovera.
Are you ready?
Let's go. Paul Ricard is quite a unique track. As you can see, the walls are pretty far, so you can risk something more when you drive. The track is really slippery, really enjoyable to drive, but you have really to take care. Here we are on the Mistra Straight,
Okay.
which is the longest straight on the
Then
track.
here you need to push, push, push.
Yes, this is the fastest part of the track.
And I feel it. Wow.
Here we are in the last 2 corners.
Woo.
Here we are on the straight line.
It's so good.
Braking 41, braking really hard. Flip the apex. I was
So
good.
good. So good.
So these cars are now so powerful. The electronics is working really well, so it's a really real pleasure, and you can drive fast but safely, which is the most important thing when you drive a Ferrari.
Wow, Ale. Was so good. Thank you, Ale.
Grazie. Ciao.
Bye.
One of the few things Alessio has been doing across the course of this weekend, I should say one of the many things. He's been in race control as driver advisor. He's also been on the air with us as well. A great guy and a great driver, Alessio Rovera. Okay, so here is the Circuit Paul Ricard. 5.842 kilometers, 15 turns, 6 left, 9 right. It was built back in 1969. First race was held here in 1970. First 2 sectors, very much power sectors. And it's not until the final sector, which is twisty and turny and hardly a straight bit on it. So the setup of the car really is very much a compromise. Stand by, we're about to go racing. All quiet on the Western Front. Ah, not likely. Let's get these cars ready to rock and roll as they are released on their formation lap. The Richard Mille safety car has released them, and they are on this formation lap. 30 minutes plus 1 lap once the race has formally started. So yesterday it was Sergio Paulet that took the win for the Pirelli drivers, for the Pirelli Am drivers. It was Michael Verhagen. Here's the grid. Jacob Bidstrup, Otto Blank. Then it's Karl Runefeld and Herbert Guys on the 5th row of the grid, P10 and P9 respectively. Giacomo Rinaldo and Nobuhiro Imada, P8 and P7. Danilo Del Favaro and Michael Verhagen. Before we see Max Mugelli and Anders Bidstrup, who did a brilliant qualifying for a Pirelli Am driver, Gilles Renman and Sergio Paulet, then P2 and P1. And once again, we will hear from Sergio Paulet because he is the pole sitter.
So second pole of the season and of the weekend. I'm very, very happy. I was honestly not expecting this one. We had a strategy at the beginning, but finally it starts raining as soon as we were going out of the track. So we changed a little bit the strategy, but then we put new tires, we start pushing, and finally get the fastest lap. So very, very happy. We will now check the videos and see what I've been done correctly and have a best strategy for the race.
Sergio's a great driver, he's saying there. I'll take a look at the videos to ascertain what he did correctly and what he didn't say, but he wanted to was what I did incorrectly as well, because racing drivers are always ready to improve, and of course with the benefit of all the data analysis that provided by the car and by engineers and by driver coaches as well. You can always improve, Nico.
For sure, that's how you become a good racing driver, or good in pretty much anything. Sergio Paulet yesterday said, actually, Gilles Renman, I think he's quicker than I am in the dry.
Yeah.
Now, and Gilles proved that in the race. Made up a huge amount of ground until the very end, and it became close. So now the two are side by side. So Sergio Paulet cannot benefit that much from any gap he has from the start. He has to show his pace today, and Gilles Renman, he will think, today, I get the win.
Yes, of course he will. So cars weaving from side to side, just trying to generate a bit of temperature. Michael Verhagen for Ferrari Warsaw then. And into Sector 3, which is one of the more, or is the only really technical sector part of the track. The Sector 1 and Sector 2, all about power, really. This is twisty parts. So, as I mentioned, the Richard Mills safety car will peel off into the pit lane, and then it will be the responsibility of Sergio Paulet and Gilles Renmans to control the pace of the rolling start here at the Circuit Paul Ricard. So around the final turn, wait for the safety car to peel off. There it goes. And right, we throw the lighting gantry to the top of the screen for you. Stand by. Here comes 30 minutes plus 1 lap of hot rock race action from the Ferrari Challenge, Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli Am. Oh, Danilo Del Favaro, I think it is, that was chumping at the bit to get going. Let's Go Racing, trying to split the two of them there. As you can see, going up into turn number 1 is Max Mugelli. So Sergio Paulet and Max Mugelli, I think Gilles Renman being nerfed out a little bit there. He had to take to the runoff area. Got to be careful that you don't take any advantage out of that and get a slingshot. That may well be looked at by race control. I would say that the start was pretty unsatisfactory with regards to cars' positions, perhaps. And it was Danilo Del Favaro who certainly moved, I think, Nico. And you could see him jump, couldn't you? You got Herbert Guys right behind Danilo Del Favaro now, and it'll be interesting to see. But Danilo Del Favaro is leading ahead of Herbert Guys and Michael Verhagen, the big loser in the start of the race.
Yeah, Anders Bidstrup also, he was P3 overall, dropped quite a few positions, is now running P7, 4th in class, so he certainly had a great qualifying, wasn't able to convert that into race position right away. There is his brother who's taking a look on the inside, coming into the chicane. That's the car of Otto Blank that he was looking at, and I think he's got the overtake done. We will see where they come out at the end of the chicane.
Another driver that really got balked at the start is Nobuhiro Imada, Nico. Nobuhiro Imada actually not showing us running on our timing screen.
Yeah, he didn't cross any sector lines unless it's a transponder issue, which sometimes happens, but I don't see him at the end of the crocodile, so I think we actually have lost him. No indication, no yellow flags announced, and you said it, Gilles Renman and Max Mugelli, their order was reversed after the chicane, and Gilles Renman certainly didn't make it through the chicane to get there.
No, Danilo Del Favro got the bit right between his teeth, hasn't he? And Herbert Guys and Michael Verhagen, P2 and P3 in the AM drivers. So top three Pirelli drivers, Sergio Paolo, Gilles Redmans and Max Mugelli. Then it's Danilo Del Favro, Herbert Guys and Michael Verhagen. And no indications yet. Herbert Guys actually is the driver that's made the most progress. He's moved up 4 places, and actually Nico Nobuhiro Amada down 5 places. So he was running at one point, and yeah, whatever happened to Nobuhiro Amada, it's a great shame, because he had a good race yesterday, and you know, I thought we were going to see him on the podium at one point yesterday, but it didn't work out that way. But yes, as I say, Herbert Guys is the driver that's made the most progress. Danilo Del Favro moved up 2 places, to the detriment of Michael Verhagen. Honestly, let's see now. Max Mugelli was determined to split, wasn't he? And evasive action almost having to be taken there, and just trying to see where Nobuhiro is on there, or whether indeed he is on our pictures.
Unclear, I would say, and there is Anders Bidstrup, who's defending his position, and good thing there is some runoff area.
Certainly being squeezed there. This again, I mean, Herbert Guys, he was just, yeah, on a mission, wasn't he? And so too was Danilo Del Favro. And through that chicane, and there, Michael Verhagen, side by side with the number 29 car of Anders Bidstrup, who certainly felt going down the order. So Sergio Paolo leading from Gilles Redmans, 1.283 seconds, and actually, a further 1.5 seconds ahead of Max Mugelli, who's running in P3. So top 2 have broken away a little bit from Max Mugelli, and Danilo Del Favro has broken away a bit from Herbert Guys, but Michael Verhagen is staying with him for the moment for that P3 place. And Jacob Bidstrup getting past Giacomo Rinaldo. So 26 minutes plus laps, 26 minutes plus a lap. So there is the car of Herbert Guys. Herbert Guys running P2 is trying to put the chase on to Danilo Del Favro, but he's not able to do it. And the reason for that, Nico, in my opinion, is because he is being pushed hard by Michael Verhagen here. So P2, Michael Verhagen, we know what a good racer he is. We know what a good racer Herbert Guys is. But when they start battling together, it is playing into the hands of Danilo Del Favro, who's able to escape up the road, isn't he? Let's ride on board here. Michael Verhagen, run the telemetry of the car as well, up to 8,000 revs, 8,500 revs, 250 kilometers an hour, make that 260, 270 kilometers per hour, 280 we get to before we have to start braking. Brilliant to have that telemetry available to us and on screen for you to enjoy as well. Fastest lap coming from Danilo Del Favro for the Shell AM drivers, and for Sergio Paolo for the Pirelli drivers. Pirelli AM for Danilo Del Favro is fastest lap sitter for Pirelli, Sergio Paolo. So staying on board with Michael Verhagen. You can also see to the left-hand side of your screen, or you could, the dashboard inside the car of or being on board, the onboard shot that we could bring you from Michael Verhagen. Right. 1.7, make that 2 seconds to the good for Sergio Paolo. Car number 77 leaving the track and gaining an advantage has been noted. Now, car number 77 is Gilles Redmans. It's been noted. If it's been noted, Nico, what does that mean? That they will look at it after the race? They're looking at it right now, or it's been noted, it's been observed? What do you think?
It's a good question. We've asked that question before, and I don't think we ever got a fully conclusive answer. As far as we understand, it means that it's not quite under investigation, but the incident or the sequence, as we take a look, actually Michael Verhagen takes a look at Herbert Guys, and that was very, very close. For a moment I thought they would be coming together, but gladly it did not come to grief. it means that the incident and Gilles Remen effectively opting to not take the chicane, or feeling like he had no space to take the chicane, has been registered, and race control will certainly have a look at that. So I'm sure we will get an information about that, and we do believe that was during lap 1, even though it's not specifically mentioned in the race control message. Specifically mentioned is Sergio Paulet, namely in terms of having set the fastest lap time the last time around. The gap currently is just under 2 seconds between P1 and P2.
Thank you, Nico. Sergio Paulet then leading, Danilo Del Favro leading for our Pirelli AM drivers. That's to the left of our picture is Nobuhiro Imada.
Yeah, he's come out again, but it doesn't quite look at full pace.
I would agree with that. Fastest lap, Danilo Del Favro, as I mentioned, for the Pirelli AM drivers. And there is the number 71 car of Otto Blank. Very, very distinctive with the end caps of the fin plates pink, and that too also on the door mirrors. So whatever issue Nobuhiro Imada is having, it's an intermittent one, I would suggest. And great shame, because Nobuhiro Imada was the talk of the program yesterday, doing so much overtaking at times and having a really, really good time of it in the race. Sadly, the race not going his way today. So Paulet with 2.3 seconds to the good over Gilles Remans, who in turn is 5.2 over Max Mugelli. Now, Danilo Del Favro got 1.2 seconds over Herbert Guys, who in turn much closer to Herbert Guys is Michael Verhagen. Right, now this is Anders Bidstrup. Beg your pardon, it's Jacob Bidstrup on Runefeld right now. This is the battle that's going on for P8. Giacomo Rinaldo on the back of that little trio. So here we can see it with Runefeld, the last lap at 2:07.757, and therefore Jacob Bidstrup was quicker. It's all very well being quicker, you've got to find a way by, and really running off the track there was Karl Runefeld. I wonder if race control will take a look at that, because certainly track limits has been something of an issue this weekend. Okay, Bidstrup to the inside here. Past the flip-flop speed camera we have from Faye, and then heavy braking into this chicane. And you can see Bidstrup all over the back of the number 94 car, trying to find a way by, but thus far has been denied. But surely it's a question of when, not if. Undoubtedly quicker, but for the moment, good defending by Runefeld. Car number 77 under investigation once again for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. I think that's just a repeat of the earlier warning that we saw on our message screen. Don't think he's done it again. And this little compelling battle that is going on for P8 in the race overall, but P8 in the race overall is for P5, P6 and P7 in the Trofeo Pirelli AM category. So for now, Karl Runefeld for Alta Roper Racing, the organisation looked after by Martin Nelson, himself a former Ferrari Challenge star, who's here this weekend. You may well have seen him on the grid. And Martin, as I say, he was a formidable race driver and threatens to come back every now and again. It would be great to see you back in a race suit, Martin Nelson, in a racing car, hint, hint, here in the Ferrari Challenge. So, yeah, all-round good guy and good racer, Nico, who we were fond of.
Were and still are, as you can tell. And very, very good showing here from our M drivers. Del Favro, Guys, Verhagen, who won the race yesterday, is not finding it easy at all to get on terms with the two drivers in front of him, and also Anders Bidstrup is keeping him company. And then there is, behind them is this battle group. Karl Runefeld, Jacob Bidstrup and Giacomo Rinaldo.
So interestingly, I keep looking there at the line that Karl Runefeld is taking. He's had one track limits warning. Jacob Bidstrup has had two. And here comes Bidstrup again. What he's trying to do is trying to get underneath the number 94 car coming out. It's not quite worked so far. Is it going to work this time around? Does he get on terms? He's certainly trying hard, Nico. But it's been very, very good and steadfast defending by Karl Runefeld at the moment. And trying to buy into it as well as Giacomo Rinaldo. Now, car number 77. Which is Gilles Redmond's, you'll see this on the screen in a moment. He's going to pick up a time penalty of 5 seconds for leaving the track and gaining an advantage, which will effectively elevate Max Mugelli into P2. Won't it? No, because actually Max Mugelli is 11 seconds behind the leader, so he's 8.9 seconds behind Gilles Redmond. So Gilles will actually hold on to that place.
Yeah, as these three continue to fight, and Jacob Bidstrup is trying to attack, but also trying to defend.
Yes, and I have to say his modus operandi has had to change from attack to defence, because right now Giacomo Rinaldo is very much looking more lively. Here's Michael Verhagen. There's confirmation of that time penalty for car number 77. It's academic. Because Gilles Redmond is sufficiently ahead of Max Mugelli that he's not going to impact at all.
Not at this stage, no. And I think this is a little bit as we have the replay from the start.
Yeah, and this is the replay. Now, Joe, that's a tough one, because I kind of think he had to take that line to avoid contact, but you know.
I think this is one of the cases where we often say you're allowed to get away with more on the opening lap when there is lots of traffic, but obviously we also say there is a limit to it, and where that limit exactly is maybe subjective, but at the end of the day Claudio Garavini and his team will apply a certain set of rules, and we have been part of the drivers briefing, which happens on the Thursday or Friday ahead of each event, and there the drivers are being told very specifically what they're allowed to do, where track limits are enforced specifically, irrespective of gaining an advantage. And this was certainly one where they felt, okay, you know, you can take the evasive action, but actually Mugelli was in front of you. If you take that line, probably they feel, if you're behind him, you take that line, you give that place back and you're good. If you don't...
Oh, forgive me, Nico. The pressure from Giacomo on Jacob Bidstrup was almost enough. Bidstrup had a very, very wobbly moment with the back end of the car, Nico, but was able to hold on. Now Jacob Bidstrup in car number 40, who is being chased down by Giacomo Rinaldo. Now Jacob is, you can see there, car number 40 going to pick up a time penalty of 5 seconds for track limits. So that means the driver of car number 75, Giacomo Rinaldo, is going to be elevated into that position held by Jacob Bidstrup, which in class is P6. So he hasn't got to fight the battle too hard. However, what Jacob Bidstrup wants to do is try and find a way past Karl Runefeld, get up the road, and if he can get up the road by 5 seconds, then it's nullified, that time penalty.
So far, the theory, doing that in practice probably will prove a little bit more difficult, but I love that shot.
Yeah, it is. It's a really, really good shot, isn't it?
Great work by the team in the OB van and around the circuit to bring you these pictures from Le Castellet, one of the most iconic looking circuits in terms of the tarmac that you can find in the world, and very iconic is the 296 Challenge, especially at full speed. And Jacob Bidstrup is trying to improve his track position. I think he's done it, unless he overshoots the chicane. Oh, switchback!
My goodness me, that was a heart-in-the-mouth moment, wasn't it, Nico? Because he was carrying, I'd never in a million years thought he was going to make that chicane.
And then getting the suffering the switchback and getting the switchback again. So that was a double change of positions within a matter of a few meters. Very, very good and respectful driving from our competitors.
I completely agree. Completely agree.
And now you can see how Jacob Bidstrup is using that and is almost propelled up the circuit.
Yes, he's almost got rid of that penalty already, and of course ahead of him is Anders Bidstrup, his brother.
And considering that they started effectively on different ends of the spectrum,
I know,
in the
it's
end,
amazing, isn't it?
they can now share a conversation almost on the track. I mean, there is still 8 seconds between them, plus that virtual penalty, as we see Danilo Del Favaro being shown as dropping on our timing screen.
What has happened to Danilo Del Favaro? Because it's Michael Verhagen now leading Herbert Guys and then Anders Bidstrup, the top three. So something has happened to Danilo Del Favaro. Turn 14, we're saying, turn 14. So here then, this is Bidstrup versus Runefeld. So braking, well, you're trying to push the pedal through the floor, I should think. Runefeld comes back, and how he gets the car rotated is beyond me, Nico. But he does get the car rotated less than optimally, which is enough for Jacob Bidstrup to come back at it.
Absolutely. Daniel Del Favre, he is still running, but he has lost a few positions, and that's Verhagen against Herbert Guys, we believe.
Great move. He really, really was keen there, wasn't he? And went through on Herbert Guys. So that means Michael Verhagen is leading the AMS race. Herbert Guys P2, Anders Bidstrup now P3, and Jacob Bidstrup, unbelievably, okay, I accept, there's time penalty. But Danilo Del Favaro down now to P8, Nico. So lots going on in this race. Giacomo Rinaldo is after Karl Runefeld here.
Yeah, and just to give a quick shout out, Sergio Paulet leading by 1.6 seconds only. However, the 5-second penalty for Gilles Renmans makes that a little bit less dramatic than it would be otherwise, simply in terms of track position.
You're right to point that out. We've got 11 minutes plus 1 lap of this race remaining. And you can see here how clear and how keen Giacomo is in the number 75 car to get past the number 94 car, Karl Runefeld, through the final turn on this circuit of Paul Ricard. And there you could just see the Danilo Del Favaro car going through. It certainly didn't look like it had lost any of its pace. Now this is in replay, Danilo Del Favaro losing out. And I said I can't see any loss of pace on the Danilo Del Favaro car. But clearly something happened. Maybe missed a gear or something. I don't know. I'm sure Danilo will tell us, but he's lost out to both Jacob and Anders Bidstrup in the end. Here's Herbert Guys, and Herbert Guys is now being really, really chased by Anders Bidstrup. So Anders Bidstrup running P3, Herbert Guys running P2, Michael Verhagen having set the fastest lap. Herbert Guys, another big, big progression, up 4 places, and Jacob Bidstrup, irrespective of the time penalty, has moved up 5 places. So lots of changes in terms of the order here, and Giacomo Rinaldo still chasing down Karl Runefeld. Hasn't been able to find a way by yet. Who else is in danger territory with time penalty warnings? Well, Herbert Guy's got 2 against his name. Sergio Paulo and Gilles Renmans both have 1, as do Danilo Del Favaro, Karl Runefeld, Giacomo Rinaldo, and Otto Blanken. Is this the deal? Is this the way he's going to make it work? No, Nico.
No, there are different lines for that part of the track, but if, like Runefeld, keeps his foot down and manages to rotate the car on the outside, he then has the inside line into that next sequence of turns, so it's very, very difficult to make a move stick there, and now is another opportunity, and that's a different story unless Runefeld can come back into that final turn. But is that a switchback potentially?
Oh, I'm not sure. Oh, well, that was a switchback, wasn't it? Because Herbert Guys and Anders Bidstrup are trading places, but Anders Bidstrup, I think, had got past, and then Herbert Guys came back. We just missed out, didn't we, on the Runefeld and Ronaldo. I think Ronaldo has stayed in front. There's Nobuhiro Imada, who's back running at full tilt now, Nico, because he's just got by Otto Blank.
Yeah, I mean, he's a lap down, so he's not really overtaking him in terms of track position. And here is that switch back into the final turn once again. I think you're right. I think that at the end, Giacomo Ronaldo came out on top.
Here we can see super slowed down here. And, I mean, that was we've seen some examples of where you can make it work through the final turn, and that was one of them. You can see that there's more things under investigation, including cars number 33 and 9 in T14 under investigation.
And that might be the reason we lost Danilo Del Favaro, not from the race, but from his podium and lead position. And
yes,
Michael Verhagen would have been very close to that. So potentially adding some context to the timing changes that we saw on our screen.
Be interesting to see that, wouldn't it? To see what happened. Okay, so Sergio Paula, Gilles Renmans, Max Mugelli, the top three for our Pirelli drivers. For our AM drivers, Mikko Verhagen, Herbert Guys, and Anders Bidstrup. Herbert Guys really under some pressure from Anders Bidstrup. Here he comes again. Side by side, they go almost. And Bidstrup, I would suggest, Nico, is probably a tad faster than Herbert Guys. So he had to take evasive action then, didn't he? Just a tad faster, but finding a way by, as I've said, to the point of boredom, is always perhaps a tad more difficult.
Indeed, and we can see in the background, there is Jacob Bidstrup.
Oh, let's go rallycrossing.
And there is Jacob Bidstrup, and even though he's got that penalty, he's still very creditable. He's already made up more than 5 seconds to this battle that we are watching. And you said it, the Bidstrups have really found some extra level of pace, and that is very, very good to see. A very welcome addition from the Danish brothers.
Yes, they have competed in the Ferrari Challenge before, but it's only been, dare I say it, bit part appearances now and again, Nico. Nürburgring being one of them, I recall, from, was it last year, year before, I think, year before, when we first met them, and they showed plenty of promise. And you can see why. You can see that playing out now as under heavy braking once again, going into the straight here. Through he goes. Herbert Guys, I think, allowed him room because he was going to hope to get the switch back and it wasn't able to do so. And right now, he might come under the threat of Anders' brother, who's right behind.
Indeed, 5 minutes, 20 seconds plus 1 lap, and Sergio Paulet will start the next lap in but a few moments. And I believe that means 4 more laps once he crosses the timing line for everybody. So that still offers plenty.
Turn, Nico. And Herbert Guys is in the middle of a Bidstrup sandwich here. But Anders Bidstrup has been able to get away. And this is how he did it. Really, really was confident in the braking. And I think Herbert Guys didn't defend that too steadfastly, thinking he was going to be able to get the switch back. Wasn't able to do it. Right. Thank you, guys. In the OB truck. So that is the reason that under investigation is Michael Verhagen and why Danilo Del Favaro went down the order. I'm sure Mr. Verhagen will say, braked in a different place to what I was expecting. Danilo will say, no, I didn't. And that's why you and I are in the commentary studio and not in race control, because I wouldn't want to be looking at that.
No, Claudio Garini will say something that has the final word on that, and will carry the most value and weight, and that is something that Michael Verhagen is not necessarily looking forward to. I think he will feel under a little bit of uncertainty right now. There is Danilo Del Favaro. He's still running in P5, and we can see something that will be brought to you, and that is the resolution of what we just saw in terms of the replay.
Yes, and basically what it's saying to us in our control message screen is that car number 33, which is Michael Verhagen, is going to pick up a 10-second time penalty for causing a collision. You'll see it on screen in just a moment or so, which basically means for Michael Verhagen to maintain the lead that he has, he needs to maintain the gap that he currently has between himself and Anders Bidstrup, because the gap is enough for him to hold on to the lead, Nico.
But it's exactly 11 seconds and a little bit, so that means it's effectively, virtually, Verhagen-Bidstrup guys within the matter of 2 seconds, so laps plus whatever lap you were on. So the drama is not over, and it focuses on the end.
Well, we're being told by our TV director that Danilo Del Favero is certainly on the team radio to his coach, advising of how he felt that that contact has right royally ruined his race, and I think that's fair, perhaps. I'm sure Michael will have a different take on it, but we know that a penalty has been awarded of a 10-second time penalty, so Verhagen has got to keep that. And what he's doing is trying to build as much of a gap as he can, and he's just got past Max Mugelli, Nico.
Yeah, he now knows that he can't afford to just maintain his gap. He has
to push, increase it.
Max Mugelli was kind of the victim of that extra push.
But actually, ironically, for Max Mugelli, it makes no difference, does it?
Exactly. So he didn't probably defend that too steadfastly, but it makes all the difference in the world for Michael Verhagen to get up the road, and that gap currently is 11.6 or 11.7 seconds to Anders Bidstrup, and a little bit more, 1.5 seconds extra to Herbert Guys. So as we take a look at our leaders, the gap looks really not that big, but remember, that incident from lap 1 where Gilles Renman just didn't give the place back. I think that's what it boils down to.
Yes, I think you're right. And well, Sergio Paulet, Gilles Renmans, Max Mugelli on track, top 3. Michael Verhagen, Anders Bidstrup, Herbert Guys on track, top 3. Accelerating away, lovely sound. Mistral Hall to the right-hand side of your picture. Great onboard shot here. 6th gear, 250 kilometers per hour before braking, a little dab on the brakes, and then back on the throttle again, giving it maximum gas before maximum braking once again into the technical part of the circuit. Well, Sergio Paulet will feel that he's had a jolly decent weekend here on his return to the Ferrari Challenge. I was just trying to think when last I saw Sergio. Lap of the race. And now
Gilles Renman is picking up another...
I was just looking at that and pausing, thinking, is that another one, Nico?
Yeah, it's another 5-second penalty because of track limits. Now he's got a gap of way more than 15 seconds to Michael Verhagen, who's in a different class. So more than 20 seconds to Max Mugelli. So even with 15 seconds combined penalty seconds, he's still going to take P2. But there we go again. It's another Bidstrup and Guys battle. Now this is Jacob. Jacob, correct.
And going through on Herbert Guys. Now, Jacob, of course, has got a time penalty, but into the mix comes Danilo Del Favero as well, Nico, in the camouflage colours on his 296 Challenge car.
And that was an overtake for P4 in class, effectively. P5 on track, because Jacob is in front of them, but Jacob obviously has that time penalty, so Danilo Del Favero, in spite of getting turned around by Michael Verhagen, he's now running in P4. Which is very, very creditable.
Yes, it is.
And testament to the pace that Danilo Del Favero has.
So, there is Danilo Del Favero pushing as hard as he can. And into the chicane on this Mistral Straight here at the Paul Ricard circuit. And look where Gilles Renman is now on Sergio Paulet. I mean, the gap between P1 and P2 is less than 4 tenths, Nico. Now, Gilles, to be fair, has got 2 time penalties against him. You can see that by the red bars on the graphics, but nonetheless, he's really closed the gap. But Sergio Paulet will head for home and take the checkered flag for his 2nd race win this weekend. Result there, and Michael Verhagen then he's rounding the final turn now, I believe, and heading towards the checkered flag for the Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers, and should, I think, take victory despite the time penalties. There's Max Mugelli, who takes P3 in Trofeo Pirelli. And it's all about where Anders Bidstrup is. And I think Verhagen has got enough over Anders Bidstrup to be able to hold on to that lead in Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli AM. Sure enough, he does. And then it's Jacob Bidstrup. No, Danilo Del Favro. That's going to be an interesting podium, isn't it? Danilo Del Favro takes P3. And then it's Herbert Guys, Giacomo Rinaldo, Jacob Bidstrup. Then it'll be Carl Runefelt, Otto Blank, and Nobuhiro Imada, who, of course, was a lap down. So, again, Nico, an extraordinary race.
Extraordinary, and lots of permutations. The NACO report, of course, a RAM team applauding Sergio Paulet. The team obviously very, very much used to success, but as you can see, it never gets old, and winning a race is an amazing feeling, not only for the driver, but for the team, and a great sense of satisfaction. Well, yeah, Michael Verhagen, Anders Bidstrup, and actually Danilo Del Favro, with all the penalties applied, actually indeed gets that podium place.
I mean, that's remarkable, isn't it?
I mean, Danilo will feel like this would have been a race win for him, and it should have been a race win for him in his mind. I also think that he can be very, very satisfied with the pace that he has proven here in the Castellet, because it's really, really strong, and it bodes very well for his season campaign.
I agree with you. Yes, I agree. Wow. On we go to the next round, which will be in Mugello, which is, dare I say it, Nico, completely different to this circuit as it winds its way through the Tuscan countryside. Confirmation of the result then for you. The results by Faye as Sergio Paulet, Gilles Renman and Max Mugelli take the 1, 2, 3 in the Pirelli class. In Pirelli AMS, it's Michael Verhagen ahead of Anders Bidstrup, then Danilo Del Favro. Then it was Herbert Guys and Giacomo Rinaldo. Then it was Jacob Bidstrup, Carl Runefelt and Otto Blank, with Nobuhiro Imada taking P12. So there we have it, the runners and the riders and the successes, if you will, of the Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli AM Race 2 of the weekend. And they're out of the car. Standing by for photos, Francorchamps Motors Brussels driver Gilles Renman. He's going to be one to contend with this season, for sure. And here comes Sergio Paulet. Bravo, Sergio, you can hear. Congratulations all round.
It's so good, man.
It's so good, man. There's Michael Verhagen for Ferrari Warsaw, who immediately going over to speak to Danilo Del Favro, I think.
Yeah.
Look at that. Anders Bidstrup, very happy about that. Tor Coleman there from the Formula Racing organisation, offering his congratulations. So that's really nice to see that Danilo Del Favro and Michael Verhagen exchanging pleasantries.
No, yeah, but you could interpret it in an ironic way, but it actually definitely wasn't. And I don't know if you looked at that in the background. I mean, they had a conversation, exchanged their thoughts on how the situation was, and then there was a handshake, and really, really friendly. And I mean, it's just a testament to the Ferrari Challenge and the paddock and the camaraderie. And Max Mugelli giving us a thumbs up as well. So that was another interesting race for many, many reasons.
Yes, So we're going to hear from the Ineco Reparto Corsa Ram driver. We'll also hear from the Ferrari Warsaw driver. Each of those, of course, one from Pirelli and one from Pirelli Am. Those drivers doing a good job out there on track. So Sergio Paulet then 2 out of 2 this weekend. And let's hear what he's got to say on his second victory here at the Paul Ricard circuit with Ludovica.
Sergio, congratulations. Your team pushed you during all the race and you collected 2 pole positions and 2 wins, so the best way to start this Ferrari adventure.
Fantastic. I can be more happy. We were not expecting to have these 2 poles and 2 winnings. Perfect start for me. As I said yesterday, Gilles was faster than me in free practice, both free practice, test on Thursday. But finally in the race, I managed to do the pole yesterday in wet conditions, which is maybe better for me because I love wet conditions. But today I was not expecting this at all. So I did the pole, then I was like, okay, he's going to push a lot at the beginning of the race. But I managed to do a good start. I put some space between us, managed the pace, managed the tires. Sometimes I was struggling a little bit with the tires. But I mean, he was pushing hard. He got, I think, 2 penalties, right? So I was a bit relaxed, honestly, at the end. He was right behind me, but with the 2 penalties, I had the victory already. So very, very happy.
Thank you, congratulations.
Thank you very much, guys.
Well done to Sergio Paulet then, as he says, with the time penalties that Gilles had picked up. He knew he'd got safety on his side. Up next, we're going to be here from Michael Verhagen. And he is with Ludovica right now.
Congratulations, a very special weekend for you today. Even with the penalty, you managed in the best way your car and your feeling with your car.
Yes, yeah, we did our job to try to get the points, but yeah, I made a mistake, so that was yeah, in the corner. Couldn't brake earlier. I was used to dive in the corner, and some took more speed in, let's say, mid corner to the end, and I was not used to Danilo to take that decision and make the mistake. So got a 10 seconds, so that's fair enough. So I really had to push like everything what I got to gain the 10 seconds, and we just made it. So I'm still happy, but a little bit sorry for Danilo. So, but yeah, that's racing. Mistakes happen sometimes. So.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Takes a big man to apologise. Well done, Michael. Race 2, Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli, the mix of Pirelli and Pirelli Am drivers on a dry Paul Ricard circuit as the lights went from red to green. And Max Mugelli trying hard here to put it right through the middle. And as you can see, a little bit of contact there. Any damage done? No. Does Max Mugelli go through? No. Gilles Renman's having to take to the runoff area to try and avoid a collision here. Great start from Danilo Del Favero, Pirelli Am driver. Also a great start from Herbert Guys, Pirelli Am driver, and relegated Michael Verhagen. So some brilliant overtaking action going on in this Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli race, and seeing that from being on board is fantastic. Danilo Del Favero under some pressure now. Contact from Michael Verhagen, and Danilo Del Favero goes around. Danilo Del Favero fighting back with all his worth right now to try and come back into a decent points-paying position then. And chasing down the number 40 car of Jacob Bidstrup. Herbert Guys under pressure from Anders Bidstrup. Anders Bidstrup goes through. Herbert Guys tries to get the switch back, but he's not close enough. Sergio Paulet wins in Trofeo Pirelli. 2 out of 2 this weekend, and Michael Verhagen wins in Trofeo Pirelli Am. And the drivers celebrate, of course, in Parc Ferme. Sergio Paulet and Michael Verhagen, the winners. Heading up to the podium next, and the tones, the dulcet tones of Michele Mambelli. who will bring the drivers out onto the
We
podium.
are ready
their
for the podium.
celebrations.
Pirelli main class, third on the podium from Italy, Max Mugelli. Second driver on the podium from Belgium, Gilles Renmans. And the winner from Spain, Sergio Paulet. On the podium, Team Ineco Reparto Corse RAM. National Anthem. Our claps for the winners, and the trophy are presented by Antonello Coletta, Ferrari Global Head of Endurance and Corse Clienti. The trophy for the Italian driver Max Mugelli. The trophy for Gilles Renmans. And Antonello Coletta presents the trophy for the winner, Sergio Paulet. The trophy for team manager, Team Ineco Reparto Corse RAM. And now the trophy, Pirelli, Lucio Vergani, Pirelli Activities Coordinator Ferrari Program. The trophy for the winner driver, Sergio Paulet. Okay, all drivers and the team manager, Lucio and Antonello on the podium. Okay, driver, lift your trophy. Okay. And now for the driver, wait a second, because Antonello, team manager, and Lucio out. And now 3, 2, 1, champagne.
And here are the three cars that propelled our podium places to their trophies and their podium positions. Number 3 on the car, number 3 on the podium, Max Mugelli. Gilles Renman, an eventful race, start to finish. Number 77, he takes his second place of the season. There was no getting on terms. Eventually, with Sergio Paulet, the number 1 stays number 1. And he takes maximum points out of this weekend. 34 points, Gilles Renman 26, Max Mugelli 21. That's how it stands after the first weekend of Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli. Let's see what Mugello will bring in just a month or so from now. And we await the podium for our Trofeo Pirelli
Now
AM.
we are ready for the AM podium, Pirelli AM. Third on the podium, Danilo Del Favero. Second driver
talking about
on the
eventful
podium,
races.
Anders Bistrup.
There is Jan Sandman applauding
And the
his
winner
colleagues.
is Michael Verhagen.
Anders Bidstrup and Michael
Team
Verhagen.
Ferrari Varsavia.
And Ferrari also represented on the grid. Jan Sandman, obviously
National
a
Anthem.
Copper Shell driver, having raced before.
Claps and claps for the winners. The trophy are presented by Alessio Rovera, Ferrari factory driver. The trophy for Danilo Del Favero, third on the podium.
Alessio Rovera presenting the silverware to our podium places.
Second.
The first one in my memory, if memory serves, for Anders Bidstrup.
Winner, Michael Verhagen.
Not the first one for Michael Verhagen, but a very welcome one at that.
For the team manager Ferrari Varsavia. And now Lucio Vergani, Pirelli Activities Coordinator, Ferrari Program. Lucio Vergani presents the trophy, Pirelli Trophy for
Pirelli Trophy, Lucio Vergani, also to Michael Verhagen. Double bubble for our race winner.
And now all our guests on the podium with the drivers. Okay. And lift your trophy for pictures and photo from Le Castellet circuit.
I'm pretty sure Anders Bidstrup will find a place for that photo that was just taken on the podium.
Leave the podium. Wait. Now
exit
champagne!
stage left and right before the champagne race for the last time here in Le Castellet for Ferrari Challenge Europe. There is another UK race after this one, but Danilo Del Favero from the lead down the order after that incident, but recovers to take a podium position. Anders Bidstrup, some great overtakes in this race, a very, very proud and deserved second place. And then there's Michael Verhagen overcoming a 10-second penalty to take the race win. In Trofeo Pirelli M, Le Castellet Race 2. And from here, Dave said it before, we head to Mugello for the next round of the championship in April. And this is how they will line up entering that weekend. Michael Verhagen, Danilo Del Favero, Anders Bidstrup, Herbert Geis, Nobuhiro Imada, Giacomo Rinaldo, Karl Runefeld, Jacob Bidstrup also still on 8th place, and Otto Blank, P9. That was it. Ferrari Challenge Europe from Le Castellet. Thank you so much for being with us. The UK will be the crowning final for the Ferrari Challenge here in Le Castellet. But thanks for our European competitors. Thanks for being there. Six more rounds of the Ferrari Challenge Europe to go, and see you next month from Italy. Goodbye.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Ferrari Challenge United Kingdom here at the Paul Ricard circuit in Castellet in the south of France. It's Sanella and myself here to bring you all the atmosphere down here on the grid, and there is a lot going to be going on because of course it is the second race of the championship for the year. Very much looking forward to this season, which is going to be awesome. Sanella, we've got a fantastic calendar lined up and we'll be going to some fantastic circuits, and of course as the UK celebrates the Ferrari Challenge Championship, we've got returning drivers, we've got new drivers, and we saw just how keen all of those drivers are just yesterday to make it to the very top step of the podium. And I just have a feel we are in for a humdinger of a season here in the Ferrari Challenge. We'll be taking a look at the weather conditions that we can expect here in Paul Ricard, and of course the calendar to come across the course of this season. And yeah, it's a season that we've been anticipating for a long time, and it's nice that it's starting right here in Paul Ricard. Now, this is what Paul Ricard looks like when the sun shines, and this is our Challenge UK calendar for 2026. Le Castellet, Snetterton, Silverstone, Alton Park, Brands Hatch and Donington. Oh yes, the 6 rounds of the Ferrari Challenge UK for 2026. Kicking off here in Paul Ricard, where it's 19 degrees the track temperature, 13 degrees the air temperature. There's around about 7 kilometers per hour of wind just fluttering around at the moment. Sanella, come on, let's go and take a look at everything that's going to go on here during the course of what is going to be the second race of our season so far. You and I were together during qualifying, and qualifying was hugely exciting for 2 reasons, and those 2 reasons being Bradley Yates, who is to our right-hand side, so your side. He bettered his dad. He was quicker than his dad in qualifying and has put the car there. But also, it was great to see Joseph Dean here with his best qualifying to the best of my knowledge across his career in the Ferrari Challenge. And Anton, his driver coach, is there right now. I'm going to do something really very rude, and I'm going to kick Anton out of the way here and grab a word with Joseph Dean. Joseph, supreme qualifying session for you. How do you feel about the race right now?
Feeling really good. Just hopefully we have a clean start. That's all I can ask for, really. Just looking to, race well and clean.
Your progression across the Ferrari Challenge UK from season 1 when you started has been remarkable, friend.
Yeah, to be honest, we did a lot over the winter just to kind of get to where we are now and prepare for the season ahead. And I think hopefully that will show throughout the course of the year.
Well done to you, Joseph. First front row start for the young man then from Essex. A brilliant job done there, Sanella. Just proving the point that the Ferrari Challenge is such a great place to race. And Joseph is doing a good job. Let's continue down here right now. Yesterday, you were going to speak to, of course, the champion in Ferrari Challenge Castellet UK last year. That's Mike Dewhurst. Before we speak to Mike Dewhurst, we're just going to drag Federico Pastorelli, yes, the regional manager for Ferrari in the UK. Welcome. You must be so pleased with how things are shaping up.
Yes, very pleased. Amazing starting, so that we are very happy. So, new journey, and we will have fun for the season 2. Great drivers now, so very emotional for this race.
And I think you're a bit emotional as well. Well done. Thanks for talking to us. Right, Sanella, as I was saying, you were going to speak yesterday to Mike Dewhurst. He is the Castellet champion from last year, has been elevated up to Trofeo Pirelli this year. There he is. And that's the opportunity right now for you to go and speak to him and find out why he didn't qualify quite as well today.
Mike, can we have a word, please? So, what's the difference between yesterday and today? What's the strategy for today?
I think it's pretty similar. Just try and get a clean, good start, not get tangled up in anything. Hold a position, maybe make a position, and then just try and keep the pressure on whoever's in front. If I can, hopefully the setup's a bit better today so I can go more forward rather than backward. So yeah, same game plan really as yesterday.
Can you handle like the pressure of the first lane? How do you do it?
I think you've just got to focus on what you're doing, not spend too much time worrying about what other people are doing. Just keep an eye on the mirrors, but really keep your head down and focus on in front.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, pleasure.
Thank you very much, Sanella. Well done. Mike Dewhurst then, who, as I say, Copa Shell champion from last year in the UK, elevated to Trofeo Pirelli this year. You got more out of him than I ever do, as to be said. It must be your pretty face as opposed to mine, I guess. So as we continue our look down the grid here, Manuela Gosner, of course, you spoke to yesterday, and she didn't disappoint, did she?
Yeah, absolutely. She did well, guys.
And let's see, she'll be hoping to do well again today, of course. This the second race of the season, and someone that's really impressed me is Chris Baton. And Chris is there, and one of the more distinctive colours, because you can't really miss Chris Baton's car, bright orange with green on the door mirrors. Best of luck to you, Chris. Hope you have a great race. We're not going to disturb you just ahead of the start of the race. And as we continue our way down the grid here and look at all these fantastic Ferrari Challenge cars, including Darren Howell here. And we're just going to grab a word with Sean Doyle here, who is a driver coach. And Sanella, Sean Doyle, driver coach to Darren Howell. Sean, what do you tell a driver right at the start of a race like this?
Just keep it clean, look ahead, and make sure you get a good race start, and then just focus on what's going to happen ahead, hopefully.
I said on the air, Darren is one of the most improved drivers, isn't he? Doing well?
Yeah, definitely. Big jump over the last couple of years. Darren and I have done a few races together, and every time we go out, we make great improvements. So yeah, great to see.
Thanks so much for talking to us, Sean. Listen, Sanella, once again, time's running out for me and you, and we're going to have to get off this grid, otherwise we're going to get very, very told off, but it's always a delight working with you. Glad that you've been with us this weekend. So, second race of the Ferrari Challenge UK is on its way today, live here at Paul Ricard, and here come the highlights of race 1, which was brilliant yesterday. It's the first race for the Ferrari Challenge UK, and it's in the south of France in Le Castellet. The cars head towards the lighting gantry, both Trofeo Pirelli and Copa Shell. We are racing. A brilliant start from Peter Hunter, who moves up several places. Look at him go. There was a family affair right at the front right now. Let's watch this. As father and son combo, Bradley Yates and Gilbert Yates. And Gilbert Yates has got the lead of the race. Manuela Gosner, a former Ferrari Challenge Europe driver and champion, having a go at Mike Dewhurst. And Manuela Gosner goes through and gets past Mike Dewhurst, and now young whippersnapper Bradley Yates, he is taking the lead away from his dad, Gilbert Yates. This is Peter Hunter, Copa Shell driver, with a textbook move into the chicane. He picks up P1 in Copa Shell. Whichever way you look, there is plenty of action going on in this Ferrari Challenge race, the first race of our UK season. As the cars reach the closing stages of the race, it's going to be Bradley Yates who takes the checkered flag in Trofeo Pirelli, and Peter Hunter in the pastel blue 296 Challenge car is going to win in Copa Shell. An awesome start to the Ferrari Challenge 2026 season for the UK in the south of France.
Welcome to the commentary booth as Dave and Sanella make their way back from the grid, and this is the circuit in all its glory on track for you. Two sectors which very much put an emphasis on speed, and then the final sector, very twisty, tight turns, different radiuses before you come through turn 15 back onto the home straight start finish, and start is about to commence. The Richard Mills safety car leads the cars away off the grid and onto that formation lap. Obviously always a rolling start in the Ferrari Challenge, so that means everybody will get through their progression on this formation lap, making sure the brakes the Pirelli P0s and the drivers themselves are ready to get going, and then it's gonna be double file start, and this is how they line up. From rear to front, John Turner and William Bolster. Hussein Sert and Peter Hunter, yesterday's winner in Shell. Darren Howell, second in Shell, and Jean Ran. Christopher Baton and Andrea Seminara, and provisional or virtual pole setter in Shell, Ian Morris, alongside Manuel Agostner, Mike Dewhurst and Gilbert Yates, two-time champion in Pirelli, Joseph Dean and Bradley Yates. This is the front row of Pirelli and the race overall. The very, very distinctive, unmistakable look of the Castellet Paul Ricard circuit with the light blue and red lines, and we see the Richard Mille safety car and the pack coming down the Mistral straight towards the chicane, which right now obviously taken at a modest pace. It's gonna be very, very different in but a few minutes time, as the roar of these beautiful 296 Challenge machines and power plants will fill the air here in the south of France. It's the last race of a magnificent weekend of Ferrari Challenge racing. Obviously, we already had the European races and the UK race yesterday, the two European races of Coppa Shell and Trofeo Pirelli this afternoon, and this is the final hurrah. Bradley Yates on pole, Joseph Dean complementing the front row, and that's going to be Gilbert Yates just behind his son. We had a seesaw battle between them for the win yesterday, and we expect pretty much the same. But can Joseph Dean, Mike Dewhurst and Manuel Agostner do something about that? Make their mark and maybe get their first win of the season? We will find out in but a few minutes. And obviously in Coppa Shell, very much a different order than what we saw at the checkered flag yesterday. Peter Hunter, Darren Howell, they were the top two, and they're fairly down the order in P5 and P6 in class, as we're only a few turns away from the start of this race. Here is the master from the grid in the booth.
Master? That's very kind. Inaccurate, but kind. This is going to be brilliant. We know what a good race it was yesterday. The cars will line up side by side in grid formation, as you have said, behind the Richard Mille safety car. Joseph Dean, what a qualifying he had, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said it, the best grid position he's ever had in the Ferrari Challenge, and he lines up. He will watch the gantry. He will have to have an eye on Bradley Yates as well, which is not easy.
As they head towards the gantry, the lights will go out and we will go racing. Second race for 2026 in the Ferrari Challenge UK. Away we go. Good start from Bradley Yates, good start from Gilbert Yates, and a good start too from Mike Dewhurst. So this is going to be very interesting. Into the first turn they go, and well, Gilbert Yates, no surprise, putting it right to his son, and has found his way into P2. You can see there that Darren Howell and also one other car had to shortcut that turn, and race control will take a look at that. Here comes Manuel Agostner now on the back of Joseph Dean, Nico.
Yeah, again, two Yates out in front as it was yesterday. Again, at the beginning, Bradley Yates leading the pack, but everything's still very much bunched up there on the inside. There is Darren Howell, and different drivers finding different lines through that almost hairpin at the end of the track, and now they come back through that sequence of turns before they come onto the Mistral straight, and there you can see how the slipstream can work and how they approach that first overtake opportunity on the lap, which is the chicane, but nothing doing at the front.
Is Bradley going to be able to hold off his dad? Gilbert Yates right behind him. Joseph Dean in P3, Manu Gosner P4. Then it is Mike Dewhurst. Now it is Ian Morris leading for the Shell drivers ahead of Chris Baton. Then it is Darren Howell P3. Then Hussein Sert, Sean Ran, Peter Hunter, Andrea Seminara, William Bolster, and John Turner. So, running quite wide there. Gilbert Yates, of course, track limits, very much something that's on the mind and eyes of all the drivers, but also of race control, Nico. The drivers were warned in the briefing, weren't they, that there are cameras situated around the track where the drivers can get most advantage from running off the track and trying to sneak a little slingshot.
Yes, indeed, and that provides race control a very objective means of judging whether you have run afoul of the track limits, and you're good until you reach 3. The 4th one is the one that hurts for the first time with a 5-second penalty, and it's better to stay on the clean side of that chart, because towards the end of the race, when tire wear naturally is the highest, that's where sometimes inadvertently you can run afoul, and you don't want to be on the chopping block effectively by then.
No, you're quite right. So, just keeping an eye on Peter Hunter, who once again is working his way through the pack here now, Nico. He's got Sean Rand next in his target sights. There's Sean Rand, you can see. Centre picture right now. Peter Hunter in the pastel blue shade, if you will, with Andrea Seminara right behind as well. Peter Hunter, who of course celebrated victory yesterday on the top step of the podium, and his return to race wins came after a few months away from having been on the top step of the podium, and he was delighted to be back there. And you can see now Gilbert Yates really flashing his lights at his son Bradley Yates in the hope of getting him to lose concentration just for a moment. Really impressive for me is the fact that Joseph Dean is staying with them, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure Bradley would think, Dad, really? No, nothing doing that way, but you know, they're racing drivers. They will do every which way they can, and a little bit of that is probably routine and habit. There you can see the first 3 have broken quite a bit. Then is Manuel Agostino, our champion in Europe last year, who joins the UK Championship. Very welcome. And then Mike Dewhurst and Aaron Morris. Really good start from pole position. Has held it together and has some gap to Christopher Baton behind.
Very remiss of me, Nico, but I didn't do the calculations and work it out that how many races it was since Gilbert Yates last didn't win in Ferrari Challenge UK, because he was pretty dominant last season. Pranav Fangala trying to take it to him as best he could, but here's a replay of the start then as the cars approached the lighting gantry and got the get-go. And when they did, you could see that Darren Howe was on a real mission here. So too was Sean Rand, truthfully. And Joe Dean just losing out to the car of Gilbert Yates at the start. Mike Dewhurst and Manuel Agostino having a bit of a battle, and Peter Hunter here in replay, knowing that he's got to make some overtakes, but he lost out one place then. So for now, Bradley Yates has built up something of 0.6 of a margin over his dad Gilbert, and Joseph Dean running in P3, who's a further 0.6 behind. So they're all gapped pretty evenly, which is impressive because they're breaking away a bit from Manuel Agostino and Mike Dewhurst, last year's Copa Shell winner, elevated to Trofeo Pirelli this year as a dint of his championship success.
The answer to the question you put, if my records are correct, is Pranav Yangala won race 2 at Navarra last year, and
since then
it has been an uninterrupted sequence of Yates wins. Gilbert for the most part, Bradley yesterday, so
yeah, the Yates have fairly dominated, haven't they, in terms of the silverware, Nico?
No question about that. Joseph Dean keeping with them, however, and
yes, he is.
Is not letting the 2 get away, and actually just set the fastest lap the last time around.
To the right-hand side of your picture is Fulvio Musi, who is the driver coach to Peter Hunter, and who will be encouraging Peter Hunter right now as to what he can do to find his way past Sean Rand and then Darren Howell and get himself at least into a podium place. Now, you may see on the Gilbert Yates car a little bit of flapping going on the front splitter. That's nothing other than a delaminated end plate. Just a sticker on there, so it's nothing to worry about at all. However, what is to worry about is the fact that he seems to have found some pace now, and he's putting it right alongside his son, Gilbert and Bradley Yates, side by side, and Gilbert Yates through the final turn. I was going to say he's taken the lead, but he hasn't, because Bradley is fighting back here. So this is brilliant stuff between father and son. Healthy, respective racing between the two of them, but by goodness, they both want this win more than ever before. Gilbert to the inside, Bradley's going to have to yield, surely he does, and Gilbert takes the lead up. Oh, what a race we're seeing here, but look, this has brought Joseph Dean right into the equation, Nico.
100%, and it was a little bit like yesterday where Bradley was leading, Gilbert then found something and got the lead, and Bradley actually said he had made a few mistakes to allow that or to facilitate that, but towards the second half of the race the roles were reversed and Bradley got back into the lead. Now let's see how that develops. As you said, Joseph Dean got very, very close, but now Bradley has found his rhythm again and is putting the chase on his father Gilbert.
We saw multiple times, Nico, yesterday, the lead changed between these two. Are we going to see a repeat of that today? I think it's possible. Ian Morris leading for the Shell drivers ahead of Chris Baton and Darren Howell. And then it's Sean Rann and Peter Hunter, Andreas Seminara, William Bosder, John Turner and Hussein Sert. If this is the premise of what the Ferrari Challenge UK is going to look like this season, bring it on. Here's a replay of the overtake. And Gilbert Yates tried it. The switchback, though, went the way of Bradley Yates. And look at the excitement inside the garage. The emotion being shared everywhere. This is fantastic stuff. Love it. Thank you for those replays. So enjoy that. 7/10 between Gilbert and Bradley right now. So Gilbert will try and gap as much as he can, and both of them have broken away a little bit from Joseph Dean right now. Then it's the Ineco driver Manuela Gosner who's running P4, then Mike Dewhurst P5. Another lap about to be put into the book, and the first 8.5 minutes of this race gone already, and it's been pretty breathtaking so far, and Ian Morris sets the fastest lap for our Shell drivers, and Gilbert Yates has the fastest lap for the Pirelli drivers, but Bradley Yates has clawed another 10th back again, so he's not letting him get away, Nico.
No, he isn't. A brief look at track limits. A few drivers, including our top three, have had one warning in that column. Mike Dewhurst, the only one with 2 thus far, so with almost 10 minutes elapsed, that's not too bad. Nobody's really in immediate danger, but it is something that the drivers will be very aware of. And
oh no, this is the number 85 car. In for a punctured tyre, and that's Sean Rann, and that means that Peter Hunter will have been moved up a place. Sean is ready to go again.
Must have run over some debris or something like that.
Possible.
Obviously very unfortunate.
But that means that Peter Hunter now P4, Darren Howell P3, Chris Baton P2, Ian Morris P1. Here are the two Yates, P1 and P2, and they've both broken away a bit from Joe Dean now. Nearly 3 seconds between the top two and the third place driver as Gilbert Yates sets the fastest lap, Nico, at 2:06.075. But you've got to bear in mind that right now in the chase, Bradley Yates has picked up another track limit warning, so he's up to 2 now. His dad's only got 1. Got to be mindful that you get 3 warnings and then you get a penalty. Here's Peter Hunter, who, if anything, is under a bit of pressure now from Andrea Seminara in the number 6 car, the multicoloured number 6 car, who is chasing down Peter Hunter in the blue 82.
Yeah, and Peter Hunter is almost 6 seconds behind Darren Howell, so quite a gap, and the fact that he now has to also think about defending doesn't necessarily allow him to put his head down and go chase that significant gap and reduce it. So that's going to be a tall order for him to get on terms with the top 3 in Copper Shell, but he has made some very interesting and audacious and successful moves already yesterday, so not putting anything beyond him.
If anyone is going to do it, he's going to do it, that's for sure. John Turner, delighted that John Turner is in the Ferrari Challenge. Had lunch with him earlier today, and Hussein Sert, a returning driver. They're running P7 and P8, and here's Hussein Sert trying his luck then through the final turn against John Turner, but nothing doing. We split the screen there, and you can see that Peter Hunter's driver coach Fulvio Musi is there, along with Louisa sitting right behind, or standing right behind, I believe, from the Stratstone group. And yeah, there is the car of John Turner, and Hussein Sert chasing down John Turner. John Turner having to think about defending here. Hussein Sert, who has the experience of Ferrari Challenge. John Turner, I was talking to John about some of the things that he has driven in terms of eclectic mix of Ferraris, Nico, and it was fascinating. He was a fascinating lunchtime companion, so we enjoyed my time no end. He's enjoying his time in the Ferrari Challenge, just picking things up here, and at the moment he's trying to keep the car of Hussein Sert behind him. Gilbert Yates, Bradley Yates, 1.1 seconds between P1 and P2. Chris Baton has now taken the lead in Copa-Shell, Nico, over Ian Morris, who's been relegated to P2. So hopefully we'll get a replay of that overtake in Copa-Shell as Chris Baton takes the lead from Ian Morris, with Darren Howell steadfast in P3. Steadfast in that P7 position in Copa-Shell is the Stratstone Manchester driver John Turner, who's not prepared to give an inch to Hussein Sert, and why would he? Hussein Sert might be quicker, you've got to find a way by. That's what he'll be saying, I guess. There's Darren Howell. Darren Howell running in P8 in the race overall, but it is P3 for the JCT 600 Leeds driver.
Here are our two leaders in Shell in the new sequence that you just mentioned. Christopher Baton, who has now taken first place, and there is the overtake.
Yeah. So it was a drag race, Nico.
Into the chicane there.
Well, respectful room was given. See it from a different angle here. And that's just great racing, isn't it? Fair, fraught, but job done. And so now Chris Baton is able to stretch his legs a little bit. I don't know, whilst I was on the grid, I was mentioning that the Chris Baton, the orange and green, is beginning to live with me better than it did when I first saw the car, but it's certainly one of the most distinctive ones out there, that's for sure. And the number 22 car of Ian Morris from Maranello Sales, who's running P2, and both of them are ahead of Darren Howell, who's running P3 at the moment. For the Yates family contingent, just a little bit of news that Nico is pointing out to me now is that Gilbert Yates has just picked up his third track limit warning. We're halfway through the race, Nico. From here until the end of the race, the grip's only going to get a little bit more tricky. Just saying.
And the pressure is building because Bradley Yates just put in the fastest second sector overall of the race. So it's double bad news for father, double good news. Nah, I'm not going to say that, but it's definitely advantage Bradley for this moment. And we go back to that great battle here between Hussein Sert and John Turner. And
Hussein has tried really hard, but he hasn't been able to unsettle John Turner, and John seems to just have absorbed the attack. And what sometimes happens, and I think we're seeing it here now, is when you spend quite a few laps trying to make an overtake and you can't make it work, just sometimes you're better off easing off for a little while and then coming back again. I might be doing John Turner a huge disservice, because it might be that he's found the pace and the rhythm that he needs and he's escaping from Hussein Sert, but those are just, you know, a couple of the things that could be happening.
Yeah, 100%. Ian Morris, meanwhile, has also picked up his final warning, number 3. He's still running in P2, but that means certainly that he cannot be as adventurous in putting the pressure on Christopher Baton in P1. He has about 2.5 seconds on Darren Howell, so Darren Howell will be wise of that and potentially try to change that and get a lot closer.
And here we can see driver coach Benny Simonson in the garage there. look how they study the data and communicate that data to the drivers when it's necessary. Apparently, you know, you don't disturb unless it's absolutely critical, or there are some drivers that like to almost be narrated around the track, Nico, I'm told.
And there are others, including in Formula One, who really want to be left alone, very vocally.
Yes.
And I'm sure there are, and some like that also in Ferrari Challenge.
And whilst we were talking about that, Hussein Sert seems to have found his way past John Turner. What was I saying about, you know, just easing off for a moment before going for it again? And I think that's what's happened.
Absolutely. Andrea Seminara is now leading Peter Hunter and has found P4 in Shell, and that means Peter Hunter is going the wrong way in terms of his ambition, following the win yesterday. Ian Morris is not letting Darren Howell any closer, so the battles are evolving and evolving, not heating up for the moment, but we still have 30 minutes plus a lap remaining.
Yes, and we are wondering whether track limits are going to come into this, because not only is Gilbert Yates on 3 track limit warnings, Nico, so too is Ian Morris, who's P2 in the Shell drivers. So, of course, if Bradley were clever here, and I'm not saying that he isn't, if he could almost propel his father into making a track limit excursion, that would kind of do the overtake for him, wouldn't it? Just saying that that's a possibility in terms of a race strategy that maybe you could use. I suspect that Gilbert will be wise to that.
Yeah, I think if you're in that position of Bradley Yates, you will try to put some pressure on the driver in front of you, irrespective of your relationship to that driver, and you would like to have the overtake to do it on the track. But if it so happens that your pressure elicits some track limit infraction, you might not say, nah, forget about it. Yeah. Not that Claudio Garavini or race directors would ever do that.
No, of course not. Right, just under 12 minutes plus a lap still to do. We're watching P1 and P2 in our Trofeo Pirelli race. Here is P1, P2, and almost P3 in the Shell race, going into the chicane on the Mistral Straight right now. And that is Chris Baton, Ian Morris, and they are P1 and P2 with Darren Howell running P3. Now, interestingly, Ian Morris was quicker last time around. And is he going to be able to take the fight to Chris Baton once again? Who knows what can happen as the race develops. And interestingly, we try and talk through this during our qualifying sessions, that the tyres that the drivers use in the second part of qualifying are generally the tyres that they start the race on. Now, sometimes it can be something of a race as to who uses the tyres the least in qualifying that will give them the best tyres in the race. To be fair, the track temperature and the weather situation has kind of helped the longevity of the tyres. I would suggest that the tyre deg is not going to be hugely massive here, but inevitably the grip afforded by the wonderful Pirelli tyres is not going to be as good at the end of the race as it is at the start of the race. I think that's fair, isn't it?
But almost by definition, I would agree with that. Yes. And let's have a look. Christopher Baton, the gap between the two is just under 9/10, and yeah, Christopher Baton extended that lead by a tenth or so. It's just a little bit of a seesawing, and not different to the Yates gap, which is also seesawing, but a few tenths, or a few 100ths or a tenth here or there. The gap is still around 8/10.
Oh, is that Sean Rann, Nico, stuck on the track?
It looks like it, yes. The 85 car of Jean Rann.
Oh, well done. He's got it going again. And that was a spin, I think. And Sean Rann does manage to get it fired up and going again. Here's the replay.
Yeah, that's the beginning of the third sector, and nobody else involved.
Credit to Sean for being quick about his wits there and getting it to the crowd very, very quickly. Right, Gilbert Yates, Bradley Yates. Do you think, dare I make a suggestion here, that there was a family pact coming into the weekend, that if we're in a position where we're P1 and P2 in each of the races, whoa, Gilbert getting very sideways there, we'll take a win apiece? No. You know,
absolutely not.
You've taken the words out of my mouth. I can imagine what Gilbert Yates would say if I asked him that question. He said, not on your nelly.
Never in a million years. No. I think there might be a family pact that if we're 1 and 2, we're not gonna be DNF and DNF. We'll try to avoid that, possibly. I mean, not that drivers necessarily try to do that ever, but I think there is an additional incentive. It's within your family, but no, there is certainly no. Okay, we share the spoils. We can share the podium, but I'm on P1. just so we're clear.
Yeah, I think you're right. I was talking bonkers there, wasn't I? Really, it just went through my mind. I'm sorry. Gilbert Yates, Bradley Yates, Joseph Dean, Manuel Agostner, Mike Dewhurst, the top 5. And they are all Pirelli drivers now. For the Shell drivers, it's Chris Baton, Ian Morris, Darren Howell, ahead of Andrea Seminara, Peter Hunter, William Bolster, Hussein Sert, John Turner, and Sean Rann has brought his car into the pit lane. Now, if memory serves me, it was Sean Rann that may have run over a stone or some debris or something, got a puncture, and brought the car into the pit lane. So Sean is, I think from the feed I can see into my studio, brought the car back into the pit lane and is taking it back out again. And I think that was just a wise move by Sean, just to make sure everything was okay before getting back out there on track again.
Yeah, he wasn't. Given that he was on the pit lane before, he was in no immediate battle. Now he will bank the points, of course.
Good conscientious driving as well. And here's a replay of what was going on there. They were checking everything over. The HRO and driver just wanted to make sure everything was fine, and as I say, good conscientious driving.
Yeah, the gap, as you can see at the very front, it's down to 3.
It's down a bit, Nico.
Half tenths.
We've got 7 minutes plus a lap remaining. It's down to, as Nico says, 3 tenths. It's up to 5 tenths now. Seesawing a bit, but it's seesawing more in the direction of Bradley than Gilbert, I would suggest at this moment. Now, Bradley, and this is me being very cynical, can afford to take one slingshot at a track limit place because he's only on 2 warnings.
And he ran a little bit wide on that turn 15. And I'm not going to put anything into the ears of race control, but it just because you said it, I couldn't help but notice it. No, I think what you said before in terms of easing up a little bit, not that they ease up at all at the pace that they're racing, but I think Bradley will be very conscious of the fact that over the last...
Whoa! Gilbert's lost a wheel.
Oh, what happened there?
So all of a sudden, this race has changed, Nico.
Quite significantly, and I'm not sure what happened there, but definitely Gilbert Yates is not going to be able to nurse the car back all the way from there into the pit lane. So big drama here.
It's now Bradley Yates leading. Gilbert will be utterly livid. He will be beyond livid, because you know what, when you make a mistake and something goes wrong, you have yourself to blame.
Yeah, but please, for safety's sake.
Yeah, you can see. He's in a position of safety. We have a yellow flag at that area because of a wheel and a car that's there. But Gilbert, you know, to be fair to him, very, very sensibly put the car into a position of safety. So now it means Bradley Yates is leading from Joseph Dean and Manu Gosner. Mike Dewhurst P4. It remains Chris Baton, Ian Morris, and Darren Howell, who are the top 3 for the Shell drivers. So there is Manu Gosner, and Manuela Gosner making her debut in the Ferrari Challenge just yesterday. Was P2 on the podium. Looking at a P3 today. What have we got? Just under 5 minutes remaining, plus 1 lap. Bear in mind, yellow flag remains at turns 4 and 3. And there you can see the look of some, well, astonishment, I think is the word probably. Now, Sean Rann's getting a time penalty of 5 seconds for track limits. I mean, it hasn't been Sean Rann's day, that's for sure, has it? Been in the pit lane twice, had a puncture, and now, lo and behold, he gets a track limits. And it's certainly not been Gilbert Yates' day. He was driving so well And right now, it's Bradley Yates, the car that you're looking at center screen, that leads this race ahead of Joseph Dean and Manuel Agosna and Mike Dewhurst. It's Chris Baton, Ian Morris and Darren Howell for our Shell drivers. So Charles Hurst, Stratstone, Colchester and Ineco are the three teams in Pirelli that are P1, 2 and 3, and P1, 2 and 3 in the Shell drivers. Great Wall, Nottingham, Maranello, Sales and JCT 600 leads. So 3.5 minutes plus a lap remaining. There is our Copa Shell P1 and P2. Chasing after Mike Dewhurst. So the gap between Chris Baton and Ian Morris, well, Ian Morris is marginally quicker, but the gap between the two of them is about 9/10. Both of them are getting a bit closer to Mike Dewhurst, which is academic because Mike Dewhurst actually is a Trofeo Pirelli driver and not a Shell driver. So we'll get a live gap right now between the two of them, as you can see on the graphics at the bottom of your screen. As I say, both of them are getting closer to Mike Dewhurst. Here comes the live gap, 9/10. So again, Ian Morris just a little bit quicker, but with 2.5 minutes plus 1 lap, what are we looking at here, Nico? Maximum of how many laps? You're good at working this out. It depends where, I suppose, Bradley Yates is on the track.
And he's just, as you were talking, across the timing line, so that means he will complete 2 laps, and then we'll have
the one extra.
So it's just under 3 laps right now, which is maybe more good news for Ian Morris.
The timing line. Mike Dewhurst going through. Mike Dewhurst running P4 in Trofeo Pirelli. I mentioned when I was down on the grid with Sinella that Mike Dewhurst, the Copa Shell champion from last year, he came very close to winning it 1 year previously, but was bested by another driver, obviously, and that driver happens to be here this weekend. And lovely chap he is as well. Bradley Yates, Joe Dean, Manuel Agosna. Baton, and Darren Howell. As I say, getting a bit closer. Here is Bradley Yates then, who, well, he saw his dad, didn't he, going out, Nico, and that must be a... I don't know whether he would have celebrated that or not. Really, of course, it has given him the lead of the race, but he probably wouldn't have wanted to take it that way.
No, I'm sure not. But he will focus on nailing every single apex and just focus on that. I mean, obviously he'll be aware that everything's okay with Gilbert and that it wasn't a huge impact. But I mean, I assume you're very much taken aback at that moment, because it's definitely not what you expect. You're focusing on what you're doing, but you're also looking at the...
About to lap a car. Such has been his dominance. It's really, really good to see. And Bradley Yates will be left to racing room by John Turner. Look at that. Gentlemanly driving, if ever there was gentlemanly driving, Nico. He hasn't been balked at all. So when he crosses the timing line next time around, it will be to start the +1 lap, I would suggest.
Yes, definitely, and that is just 1 turn away as he rounds turn 15, which was a bit of a nemesis for him in qualifying, where a number of his laps were excellent until he reached turn number 15, which meant that, oh, no, actually, didn't count, and he had to dig deep in qualifying to get to that P1. As we take another look, here is the battle.
This is Peter Hunter, isn't it? And Andrea Seminara has suddenly lit the wick up a bit. So Baton, Morris and Howell, Andrea Seminara and Peter Hunter then. Roles reversed. As Andy Nico, is that fair?
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes you're just not as one with the car or with yourself, or the setup isn't just suiting you just the same way the next day. Slightly different temperatures, slightly different grip conditions, but Bradley Yates, he had no such problems and issues, and he is just one turn away from the run to the finish line.
So the young whippersnapper, as I seem to have entitled him, heads towards the checkered flag, and Bradley Yates then takes his second win of the weekend. There's Uncle Joe in there. He's the one with the big hat on, and that's Benny, his driver coach. And here comes Joe Dean to take his best finish in the Ferrari Challenge, and richly deserved P2 for Joseph Dean. And Manuel Agostner's going to be back on the podium once again, Nico. It will be a P3 for Manu Agostner and P4 for Mike Dewhurst. So there's Manu Agostner. It'll be a while before we see Mike Dewhurst come around, but let's pick up on Chris Bayton, because Chris Bayton is going to be victorious in the Shell Drivers. The number 81 car heads towards the checkered flag to take P1. Well done, Chris Bayton. Taking P2, it is going to be Ian Morris, and taking P3, another podium for Darren Howell. There is Peter Hunter flashing his lights furiously. It perhaps wasn't the result that Peter Hunter was looking for, but for Bradley Yates, Nico, what a, well, the emotions that that young man must have gone through during the course of that race.
For sure, and it's just, you know, when family is involved, it's always more about than your own race. And I think that's what it boils down to for him. It was certainly the ambition to be number one, but equally you would always want your next of kin to be as close to you as possible. And we've seen the celebration, for example, with the Agostner family in Europe many times, talking about the Agostners. Yes. Manuel Agostner with the second podium in as many races in the UK. So yeah, I'm sure pretty much the first thing Bradley Yates will think about is his father when he exits the car in Parc Fermé, which is only a few moments away. And after Parc Fermé, we will hear and see Dave again at the podium as he hastens his escape for the time being. Bradley Yates, the final winner for this weekend in Le Castellet, alongside obviously Christopher Bayton, who takes his first win of the season and his second podium after being third on yesterday. And here are the results on screen for you. Bradley Yates, Joseph Dean, Manuel Agostner, Mike Dewhurst are top four in Pirelli, and then it's Christopher Bayton, Ian Morris, and Darren Howell. Darren Howell also with a second place and a third, making it 2 podiums out of 2. There's the rest of the pack: Peter Hunter, William Bolster, Hussein Zerd, John Turner, and Jean Ran. Hussein Zerd and John Turner obviously offering us quite a spectacle in their battle. Bradley Yates being congratulated. I think it's fair to say the celebrations were more pronounced yesterday. Okay, celebrations now in more emotional mode. There is the car and the driver indicating Christopher Bayton. Love to see his face as well, because I'm sure it's gonna be one adorned by a smile. But we will see him and we will hear from him in a few moments underneath the podium for an interview. But obviously the first podium belongs to our overall and Pirelli winner, and that's gonna be Bradley Yates, who will be with Sanella. Just love how these cars go through the turns, attacking the apex. It's just poetry in motion. Whether we will get some poetry in voice, we will hear in but a few moments. Sanella, take it away.
So here we go, Bradley. Congratulations. This is the second win this weekend. Do you want to say something to us?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy, although I think my dad deserved that win today. He was driving a good bit quicker than me. It was hard to catch him, but I mean, yeah, once I saw him go off, I knew I had a big enough gap, so I just brought the car home.
Did you have to change some strategy on the fly? If so, why?
Not really, no. I mean, I didn't know how many track limits I had again, so I was just kind of keeping everything clean, just driving smooth, and yeah, I knew there was only 5-10 minutes left when he went off, so it wasn't too difficult, no.
Thank you very much, Bradley.
Thank you, Sanella, and thank you, Bradley. And yeah, as we assumed, it's always a family thing if you have a family member in the same race. So it's not only about you, and that was very, very evident. But well done for you, sir. It wasn't gifted to you, and you put lots of pressure on your father anyway. So even though fair play to you for saying that, yeah, Gilbert was actually quicker than me today. Here is Christopher Baton's car once again, and we have the driver with Sanella in but a few moments. Let's hear from our race winner in Coppershell.
So congratulations. I was really wondering about the mental side of the races. Would you tell me, how do you handle the pressure?
I don't really feel an awful lot of pressure. It's just, I suppose, a little bit of adrenaline before we start. Then as soon as the race starts, that all disappears. And then you need to be calm and collected and rational and have everything under control. So I think unless you can do that, you're not going to race well.
What was the key moment of the victory?
For me, it was a start today because I made a much better start and got myself in a position where I could attack from. Whereas yesterday, I got such a poor start because I'd misqualified, mispracticed. I was left behind. But today, I put myself in a better position to attack.
Would you like to thank someone?
I'd like to thank everybody in the garage, to be honest, and especially Chris, who's been helping me perfect the use of the car through the weekend and has made this possible. So thank you to everybody, and especially Chris.
And thank you.
Well, very nice to hear from Christopher Baton and get his opinion. And yes, he's right, I think. It is rational. Here are the highlights, some emotions, and it was a drag race from the start. It was Bradley Yates from pole with Joseph Dean alongside, but it was Gilbert Yates who had a very, very good start and got slotted into P2 right from the get-go through the first chicane, and then he had really put the chase on. Peter Hunter not having all his own way after going forward lots of positions yesterday, but then there was the battle of the Yates. First it was Gilbert getting past the switchback for Bradley, but at the end of the straight, Gilbert got the overtake done. Joseph Dean almost bought into it, but it was the Deans who pulled away. Here is the overtake that Christopher Baton referenced. Had a very, very good start into P2, but it was this overtake which made it possible to take the win. And here was the moment that changed the complexion of the race, with Gilbert Yates going straight and Bradley Yates thereby inheriting P1. And yeah, he had a large gap and got it into Parc Fermé in P1. Christopher Baton likewise in Coppershell, our two race winners here on Sunday for the Ferrari Challenge UK.
Hello everyone, and welcome to our second Ferrari Challenge UK podium of the weekend here at Paul Ricard. And of course, as you would expect, it's Pirelli going to be first of all, and please make it loud and proud for those drivers that will appear on the podium. In Trofeo Pirelli taking P3, give it up for Manuel Agostner. And for P2, richly deserved Joseph Dean. And on the top step of the podium for the second time this weekend, Bradley Yates. And we invite a team representative from Charleshurst onto the podium as well before we hear the national anthem.
Okay, here come the trophy presentations. Trophies presented by Federico Pastorelli, Ferrari North Europe Regional Manager. First of all, of course, to our P3 driver, Manuela Gosner. Up next, in receipt of the P2 trophy, it's Joe Dean. And then taking the second race win trophy of the weekend, Bradley Yates. We're not done yet because, of course, the Charles Hurst organisation received the Copa Team Award. And delighted to welcome Fabio Lamonaco here from Pirelli Motorsport Trackside to make the Pirelli Trophy presentation to our race winner, Bradley Yates. So with all the trophies presented there, we await Lee, who's in charge of photos here. Everyone gets together on the podium then for the photographs. Charles Hurst escape, look at that. Knew what was coming. So trophies held high then and being celebrated by our top three, Manuela Gosner, Joe Dean and Bradley Yates. And now drivers, it's over to you to celebrate who's going to win the champagne race. Oh, well, I'm not sure I can call that.
Here are the super slow-mos of our podium finishers. First, Manuela Gosner in P3. Joseph Dean takes second place with the number 12 car for Stratstone Colchester. But the win went, like yesterday, to the Charles Hurst driver, Bradley Yates. So no surprise, Bradley Yates heads the Drivers' Championship. 34 points. Gilbert Yates, obviously, that DNF today didn't do his championship ambitions any good, but he will recover and he will be strong the rest of the season. Manuela Gosner in P2, Joseph Dean P3, but already here's the podium in shell.
Representative from Great Paul, Nottingham, not here, so we can hear the national anthem. Presentation time right now. We call upon Mr. Alessio Rover, a Ferrari factory driver, to make the trophy presentations. First of all, to our P3 driver, Darren Howell. Ian Morris next in receipt of his trophy for P2 from Alessio Rover. And then on the top step of the podium, here's Chris Baton's trophy, race winner. Well done to all our drivers. Alessio Rover is staying there, of course, for the photos and the media attention. Of course, if you would like to join the Alessio Rover fan club, there are many, and the photos being taken there. Ferrari factory driver, of course, Alessio. And well done to our Shell drivers for brilliant racing across the course of this weekend. Well done, in fact, to all of our UK drivers. Up next, of course, heading to Snetterton in for the next round of Ferrari Challenge UK. Okay, drivers, with the photographs, I believe, done and dusted, it's up to you to celebrate because it is time for champagne. Who's going to win this race? Well, I think it was Darren Howell.
Here are the super slow-mos of our podium finishing. Ferrari 296 Challenge cars. The number 5, Darren Howell. Ian Morris led the race for a good portion, but finished on P2. Very, very good showing from Ian Morris. But on this day, in Copper Shell for Ferrari Challenge UK, there was no beating Christopher Baton. Cool, calm, collected his approach, and he made it count today. And that will do his championship points a whole lot of good. And we look at the championship charts, and indeed he leads the championship. There's only 4 points to the good of Darren Howell, Peter Hunter, Andrea Seminara, Ian Morris, William Bolster, Sean Ray, and Hussein Surd, John Turner bringing up the rear. But it's only one event done, 5 more to go. That was it from the Ferrari Challenge UK and the Ferrari Challenge in Le Castellet in France. The season opener is done, as you heard Dave say. It's Snetterton next up, first weekend of May. If you can get there, do it. You've seen a lot of action for the Ferrari Challenge UK, and it's been blistering hot.